Hello, gamers and gaming enthusiasts. My name is Musty Hobbit, and we are here today to kick off what will be the inaugural coverage of the Electronic Entertainment Expo for the Cartridge Club. For those unfamiliar with or new to the club, the Cartridge Club is a community of content creators and gamers of all generations. We interact on Twitter, play games together online, and chat it up on the forums at www.cartridgeclub.org. But this week is special. E3 is far and away the biggest time of the year for gamers to hear from all of their favorite developers and publishers as they showcase and reveal the next big titles in gaming. So, over the next 3 evenings, we'll be providing you with coverage of all the press briefings, showcases, and trailer reveals, along with our own reactions and opinions. We'll be approaching our coverage from the perspective that you haven't seen these reveals. So, I'll be sharing a playlist. You can actually find the playlist on my channel. And that has all the trailers and reveals that we'll be talking about, so you can check those out. We wanted to share them, but considering the visual fidelity is something that's important in a lot of these presentations, we want to make sure that you're able to see that in the highest quality possible. At the same time, the chat is open, so let us know your thoughts and your take on the reveals. Tonight, we are highlighting Microsoft NEA. We'll be doing coverage of Sony, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Devolver Digital, and the PC Gaming Showcase on Monday. We'll then be wrapping up our coverage on Tuesday with Nintendo and doing sort of a general best of show type of recap. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host and our panel. So joining me in hosting duties is the CC heir apparent, executive producer to just about everything, and N64 advocate, Ryan, a.k.a. ItsRocketSauce. Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with E3.
All right. Thanks, Musty. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. My name is Ryan. I am a big N64 fan, as Musty said. But as with my history for E3, it goes probably back to the N64, because I remember getting EGM magazines and seeing I believe it was the reveal of the Ultra 64 at E3, and being like, whoa, what is this? This entertainment, and then they start showing off more of like the games. And then from years going forward, the best thing is looking for before the internet was a big thing. I remember looking at those EGM magazines, getting hyped every year, because it'd be like, next month is the E3 month, where we're going to show you everything. And then you have to wait a whole nother month to see the reveals, because you just didn't know. You weren't there live. You just had to wait. And then, of course, the internet makes things a lot easier. And, just having to wait to probably after school gets out to see it when I was in high school. But I loved always getting those EGM magazines to see, seeing the pictures, and then your imagination takes over. How's this game? Oh, this looks amazing. Oh, this looks great. This is the sequel to this game. So, and then just going forward, every year gets excited around this time of year just to see, the new consoles and the new games. And it's always something special when there's a new console coming out every year. Not every year, but the years that it's coming out, it's a really big deal. So, yeah, it's one of my favorite times of year, and it's just it's fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah, the ease of information sharing now certainly has a bit of a difference compared to what we had to deal with when we really didn't know what E3 was. We always just get, like you said, that June or July episode issue was always a good one. Excellent. Well, we thank you for being here and look forward to hearing your input. Next, we have our first guest. A longtime YouTuber, yet relative newcomer to the Cartridge Club. His series, Hey Future Caleb, gives the unique spin on current events with a wonderfully critical eye. So I'd like to welcome to the show Caleb J. Ross. Caleb.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Tell us a little more about you and what E3 means to you.
I don't know if I need to tell any more about me, just the fact that you enjoy my content that I put out there. I appreciate that. You're one of the 12 viewers of each of those videos, so that's nice. Thank you. So I've been gaming since the NES. I used to be an author. I have the university degree, 5 books of fiction, and the empty wallet to prove it. But now I don't do that anymore, and I spend most of my free time playing video games and watching YouTube content about video games and wishing I made video games. And I think a part of that wish, it really does come from the ceremony that is E3. I'm not a sports fan, never really have been, and E3 is kind of my World Series, and it's a time when my team always gets to play. They don't always win, but my team gets to always play, and that's kind of the way that I look at it and the way that I've always approached it. So there you go.
It's excellent. And I see, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking, 8-Bit Ale from Tallgrass, which is a brewery out of Manhattan, Kansas. Each night I will be drinking a different video game themed beer. So stay tuned the next 2 nights for more delicious video game beer.
Excellent. Well, we thank you for joining us. I'm excited to get your take on some of the stuff from today, especially. But I'm sure that as we progress, well, I understand the Xbox isn't your forte, but maybe today will change your mind. So last but not least, we have one of the founders of the Cartridge Club who happens to be a rocket surgeon. P1, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about what you look forward to most from E3?
Yeah, thanks. It's great that you recognize that I am a rocket surgeon, because that is an actual fact, not just a made up thing we say. E3, believe it or not, I'm relatively new to E3. I don't remember watching it prior to maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think I even cared. But roughly around that time is when I got a Wii, and Nintendo, like they did so many years ago, reinvigorated my love for gaming. And so I got that and I started watching it, and now I don't miss it. I actually prefer the Nintendo Directs to E3. So for me to see the big sprawling press conferences, they have to be really something special to keep my attention over the 90 minutes that they run. I like that focused, trailer, explanation, I don't need a lot of the pomp and circumstance that goes along with it. But this year so far is off to a fantastic start for at least one of the companies we're going to talk about tonight. So, yeah, I don't even remember what question you asked me. E3, go games, video games.
Hey, it brings us all together. Yeah. So before we kind of dive into the massive that we need to go to, I did just want to mention the forums over at cartridgeclub.org. Under the game conventions section, there is a thread for E3. People have been posting their predictions in that forum and sort of discussing things as they are progressing. I know that Dean, I want to give you a shout out and a thank you for compiling some extremely thorough notes. They almost put ours to shame. So we appreciate that. It's certainly very helpful to make sure we're not missing the little minutia like what a launch exclusive is. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so if you are familiar with the forums, go check them out. If you are not on the forums, you are certainly free to go view. And if you want to participate, it does not take a whole lot to get going there. So definitely check that out. So the big story, right? Today, we had at 2 p.m. Pacific, we had our big press conference for Microsoft. And this was kind of I think coming into this, and I can kind of get your guys' take on this. Getting into this, I think Xbox was in kind of a tough position going into this year's version of E3, being well behind in the console race. I mean, it's a night and day, not even close. Like 3-1, right? Is that that's about right, isn't it?
It sounds about right. Yeah.
I bet Ryan knows the number.
Sorry, no, I haven't looked into it. I'll let you know tomorrow.
I'm sure we'll know all about it tomorrow. But yeah, so today, what was previously known as Scorpio has been revealed, and the name is
all together now.
Xbox One X.
It's not the 10th Xbox. It's not the 10th Xbox One. It's the Xbox One X.
Yeah, it's something.
So, guys, what do you think? Ryan, what's your thought on the name?
I hate it. I'm not trying to sound like a PlayStation fanboy, but I really don't like the name. I understand they blew the name on maybe using the cell phone model, which was like the S model. Mm-hmm. But with naming it X, it clearly means it's not a new console. It's was it a midlife upgrade, or what's the term I'm looking for this one? I'm sorry, mid-console
Crisis.
like
Mid-
midlife
generation?
really.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is the equivalent of their right. PS4 Pro came out last year, and that's supposed to be the half step from their slim version and their and then their base model.
I think this is just it's a company being a company and doing what companies do, right? They as a company, as a publicly traded company, you have a legal obligation to make money. And I think it's dangerous to say that any point in history is sort of unique on a continuum. You're kind of, no point in history is really unique. And in the sense that I truly feel that we're at a point now where graphical prowess is sort of maxed out. And back in the days of the early 8-bit, 16-bit, the one word you would talk about on playgrounds would be graphics. Like, how good are the graphics? Are the graphics great? Are they getting better? Whatever. Now we're at a point where that kind of doesn't really matter anymore. And the only way you can really keep people enthused, I think, without having enormous graphical upgrades, is to sort of fake it, I guess. And to me, I feel like that's a lot of what Xbox One X and also PlayStation 4 Pro are doing. They're just kind of faking it because they know they don't have anything really great. I mean, maybe I'm the only person in the world who doesn't really care about 4K, but I feel like my eyes aren't good enough to pick up on 4K differences much anyway, so I just don't really care. And I think that's what both of these sort of mid-generation consoles are doing, right? They're just sort of trying to sell you on this amazing, great thing when really it's not. And I think they understand that, especially when they acknowledge that there's not really going to be any games unique for this half-generation system. It's really, you can play all of the same games on the entire Xbox family, which is great, but doesn't that sort of deflate the whole need for an Xbox One X, I would think?
That is a really good point. I think
and a PlayStation Pro, of course, as well. I just want to make sure I'm not, poking at Xbox only.
Yeah. So I mean, when they revealed Scorpio last year, one of the big things that they're pushing here, and the big terminology is this is the most powerful console that's ever been released. And again, we are leaving the PC space to the side. That's not I understand. I know. I think we all know that this is not even the highest level of PC that's out there, but they are definitely touting a lot of the horsepower under the hood there. And despite one of the things that I thought was nice, I think the machine size wise it looked small. It was the smallest that they've ever released, so it's even smaller than the Xbox One S, yet still has all of this flashy hardware in there, which is actually something I think that they can hang their hat on. Now, Sean, when we were listening to this earlier, someone made the joke about the power brick, and I think that's still yet TBD as to whether it has an internal or external power source, because you mentioned the S does not have an external.
The S is internal, and they stated that this is the smallest Xbox ever. And 100% credit, this design is sleek. It is a nice looking black box, I guess. They said it's smaller. They didn't say significantly smaller, so there's no reason to believe that they would have gone back to an external power brick. I believe they just trimmed down a little bit on the casing, maybe. I can't imagine they would go external again for that, especially with their vapor barrier cooled interior liquid gel, Dr. Scholl's power system, whatever it is that they've got in there to cooling this thing. But it looks great. The system looks great. It is a sexy little machine. They took the Apple model and they made everything important inside there. The design right down to the Xbox logo on that chip, which I'm sure is actually there. But at 771 Canadian dollars, taxes included, that's an awful big horse pill.
Yeah.
Did that go up $100? I thought it was $671.
That's before tax. 15% sales tax here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. So the big news, and this actually got revealed early, and I'm starting to think, based on how the presentation went, the price point was mentioned about as quick as you can mention anything, and they moved on.
Yeah.
Right? They said it. There was no slide. That I thought was probably the most telling point, is that there's no image that anyone could have grabbed from this presentation that has Phil Spencer standing in front of something that says $499.
Just a picture of a kidney.
Yes. And so that's tough. That introduces some barrier for entry that I think some people who don't have that kind of expendable income are going to have a hard time ponying up for. So, Ryan, what does that do for your perspectives on getting an Xbox One X with that price tag?
I think that was the lowest you could possibly go for the $500 tag to make it a purchasable price. I think the original Xbox One, when it came bundled with the Kinect, was $500. I think that's the most people are willing to pay for a console. Day one, right behind you. But I think that is the absolute max. I think once you're pushing 600, you fall into that PS3 launch window where people were terrified and they got killed in the sale. It's not a cheap price at 500, but it's also not like outrageous. I think it's just at the bare minimum you can sell it at.
It's that tipping point, right? It's the wow, I can't just go run and drop the money on this. Now, I think most people who are like, who is this? Let me ask Caleb. Let's ask you, who is this console marketed to? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know in the same way that I don't know who the PS4 Pro is really marketed to. It feels like to me that something like this, if you haven't already purchased a console, seeing a more expensive console is not going to make you jump on the bandwagon. What it may do is now shine a different sort of light on the standard models and make those look not quite as bad. So from my perspective, if I see that the newest system out there is $500, I might be more willing to spend, $100 or $250 or so on an Xbox One, because now that's irrational human thought. That's how we think. So in a way, this price point could be just a way to simply sell more of the standard unit models. I think that, I don't truly believe that, in all honesty, just because that seems like a pretty big gamble. But I just don't see this being something that a first-time Xbox owner would pick up. I only see it as something that a devoted Xbox follower would pick up. Maybe they're going to sell their Xbox One and get a few dollars from that, put that toward the price of it, and it kind of makes sense. It's also, I think it was launching in November. They said November 7th, I think.
That's right. Yep.
Which is, right at the beginning of holiday season. So people are going to be more willing to dish out some money during that time anyway. So perhaps they're wanting to get by with as much as they can. I also don't know if it's still the case that that Sony and Microsoft lose money on their consoles. I know historically they've lost money on consoles to make up in software. Maybe they're deciding that's not necessarily the best business model, and they're trying to actually start making a profit off of the console sales themselves, especially when they realize that there is no new software that can get people to buy it. Again, they've said, so both Sony and Microsoft have said that you can play any of the games on both systems. There's not going to be exclusives to this new mid-generation console. So they don't have the software to really sell the system, which is probably why Phil Spencer was talking so much about how your old games are going to look great. Everything's going to look better. It's going to look better. But to someone like me who doesn't necessarily care about that, I'm not going to be sold on it. So I'd be interested to see what the numbers are going to be, what the sales numbers are going to be. I honestly don't think that Microsoft is banking on it being a huge seller. I truly don't. I think that it's going to be a premium product with a premium price, and that's just what it's going to be. But most people are still going to be playing with their standard Xbox Ones, is my guess.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, excellent. Well, let's and the one big promise, right? And they're saying it now, and hopefully this remains is that there will be compatibility. Everything that you have owned for your Xbox One will work with the S, will work with the X. Why the sound there is. I saw somebody say that there is going to be a ton of confused parents this holiday season, not knowing which which one they were going for. But some GameStop employees may want to take advantage of that, right? You said X, right? You said, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I was talking to the local Sony rep here last week, and he said something that led me to believe that this is the ideal situation for Sony. He said if the Scorpio launches at the same price as the PS4 Pro, and our price cut puts us below them, it's good. And if they launch ahead of us or higher than us, and our price cut puts us even lower, it's even better. Both times he didn't say if we have a price cut. He specifically said our price cut, which leads me to believe that right now the Xbox One X is $100 more expensive than the PS4 Pro. After tomorrow, it could be $150 more expensive. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. At that point, you're going to have to look at, I mean, you can count all the teraflops and all the transistors that you want. At that point, it's going to come down to which games can I only play on the Xbox One X S or One Original.
And as of right now, no games can you only play on one system or the other. So
yeah.
And I think the first time that they break that, like, that's a huge deal. But for right now, everything being equal is kind of the mantra, and the big push right now is that it will look better, it will play better, you'll have frame rates, you'll have 4K dedicated for everything that you play on that console for the most part. They did also make a plea for non 4K players, that they've got some super sampling that's capable of being done, and that will still give your 1080p. Basically anything that's running an HDMI port at this point should be running 1080p. Those things will still look fantastic. And I think there's still a lot of benefit for those, but you're right. Not everyone has a 4K TV. Not everyone's TV caught on fire and happened to lead to getting a wonderful television. So
it's a good. I mean, that's a really good point that he did make a point to stress that, which I've always felt like that. And again, this is maybe just the old curmudgeon in me, but I've always felt trying to sell someone on 4K is inherently difficult, simply because you can't visually tell how great a 4K TV is on your 1080p TV. You can't see it, and so you're never going to really be sold on it. You have to be sold on it by experiencing it, and the only way to experience it is to get out of your house and see it and look at it. And that's asking a lot of people, especially when people are so used to not having to go out in public to do anything. So it's already an uphill battle. It's a struggle. It's difficult. And it's just going to be an uphill battle. I think it's going to continue to be an uphill battle until 4K just becomes ubiquitous. And I think that's just not going to happen for quite a while. There's other things people are interested in, I think. But
yeah, definitely. So obviously your high-powered console needs software. That's the big thing that any of these need. And I think that Microsoft was in an interesting position because it's hard to reveal a machine and then still get into all of the software that you want to have. And I think hearing the fact that Phil did a nice job. I just want to talk about the presentation in general here. I think Phil as the face of Xbox is great. He is the right person for this job. I wish we could go back and remove Don Matrick from the equation. That guy.
You could tell he cares.
Musty. Focus on Phil.
Huh?
Focus on Phil.
Focus on Phil. Even though he's was it people say he looks like the guy from True Blood? A little bit. No.
Andrew Skarsgård? Or whatever his name is.
The werewolf guy or the dog guy?
If there's nobody saying, yeah, then chances are it's not.
Probably.
No, wait, he's the vampire guy, I think you're trying to say, right? Bitter? I don't know. Yeah.
Sure. Sorry.
That I agree that the presentation was great. I really liked. I mean, now comparing it directly to EA, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here in a second, but their stage, the way they had the two platforms on either side for a couple of people to play games and come out and talk on the light show. Overall, well put together, very entertaining. As a non-conference fan, I enjoyed this quite a bit. And the guy from EA came out and didn't make me want to stab myself in the face either. So.
Yeah, I thought it was a great presentation as well. I mean, I get into it. I approached it from definitely a neutral standpoint. I don't own an Xbox. Never really have thought of owning an Xbox, so I was definitely willing to sort of see what it had to offer. And there were a lot of awesome games that came out. I liked the format. It was basically, in a weird way, it was just sitting down and watching a series of previews, a series of teasers, which you can do without a conference. To P1's point. But I liked it, and they crammed a whole lot of games in there, and maybe we can kind of talk a little bit about those games because there's some really good ones there. A few things that I was disappointed by that I'll get into a little bit, but a lot of things I'm kind of excited about. So I may be in the future to answer one of Musty's I guess insinuations earlier, be looking to an Xbox One possibly at some point. So.
Yeah, well, one of the big games you were looking for was
It was
Cuphead,
there,
right?
And it was
year after year. We've had the promise of Cuphead, and we have a date.
I'm so excited. I'm so unbelievably excited because I grew up on old Merry Melodies, Looney Tunes cartoons, that sort of stuff, and so this definitely hits hits me just right. And I loved. I don't know if anyone else caught it. The just sort of intro to that clip where it says, this is something you've never seen before, and then never was crossed out. Basically to say this is something you've seen many times before, but here it is again, which I thought was just very funny, very clever. So I'm very much looking forward to it. For me personally, as a fan of just platformers, as a fan of sort of indie looking games, whatever that means, especially after seeing A Way Out, which doesn't look indie at all, but is essentially minus obviously the publishing support of EA. But that's the kind of game I love. So for me personally, that was the highlight of it. But so I'll get that out of the way so that people who are more passionate about Xbox can get to talking, because I'm sure that's probably what the viewers want to hear a little bit more of anyway. So I will do that.
I was very excited to hear that. I think P1, you were saying this game was getting canceled. That was your big prediction. I'm
still not convinced. Until it's on store shelves, it could still happen.
It didn't say the year. It just said September 29th.
I pointed that out. That's September 29th, 2020 on the Xbox One XO.
Yeah. So I'm psyched about that. I think just the fact that it has a date is a good thing, and we're not having to wait all the way till like November to get it either, which is excellent. Again, assuming that they meant 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, Cuphead. Look, I love the self-awareness of that trailer. That was a great way to come out and be like, hey, we're here again.
Again. And I know that some people have already had an opportunity to play that, years ago. And so the fact that hopefully we'll get that soon is great. Now, before we dive into all of these titles, one of the things they mentioned was that they were going to show off 42 games, and they said that 5 minutes into the presentation, and it was just like, okay, you got my attention, and then the fact that he said there's 22 exclusives here, but I wanted means because I think we're getting some creative marketing speak when it comes to exclusives. And as far as there's two types of exclusives. One of them is your first party stuff, right? Your Halos and your Gears. Those are and Windows 10 exclusives. And then you have what is now a term that is called the launch exclusive. Yeah. You just want to sort of comment on this? So
it's actually,
I'm interested to know how many of that 22 were launch exclusives.
It's actually so there's launch exclusives and then there's console launch exclusives. Mm-hmm. So launch exclusive means this game launches exclusively on Xbox One. That will be the only place that you can play it in 4K HDR Ultra Gaming in the best possible format, upscaled specifically for you on your Xbox One X. Console launch exclusive means it launches exclusively on the Xbox One X and Windows 10. on the same day. So in both of those instances, afterwards, it comes out somewhere else. So launch exclusive means it starts on Xbox One X and then down the road could come to PC, Mac OS, and PS4 or Switch. And console exclusive means it launches on Xbox One X, S, and O. I'm just going to say Xbox from now on. And Windows 10, PC, and maybe Mac OS at the same time. And then possible other consoles down the road, PS4, Switch, so on. Dreamcast 2. So so there was 22. I'll tally up the numbers quickly here. I don't have them all because they did a montage where I didn't get them all, but there was 1, 2, 3.
3 comes next. There you go.
4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 Xbox exclusives forever.
Exclusives.
Yeah, exclusive to Xbox. There were 7 games. So of the 22 exclusives they said they were going to announce, 7 of them are actually exclusive, not including the ones in the montage. So,
and those and the ones in the montage Forza, were mostly what you would call your indie titles, right? Your
it at Xbox.
What's that again?
It at Xbox. So your exclusives are your Forza Motorsport 7, State of Decay 2, Darwin Project, Tacoma, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, Cuphead, and
Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So
and Crackdown. Do you say Crackdown?
We say Crackdown. Yeah. So those are the ones that are exclusive. But you know what? The great thing is, yes, Xbox needs to have exclusive games to pull people away from a PlayStation or to entice people to buy an Xbox over a PlayStation. If they already have one. But if you already own an Xbox, if you're already an Xbox adopter, exclusive doesn't matter to you as long as you can play the games on there. And there is so many great offerings on here for people who already own Xbox that I don't think we should get too hung up on what is exclusive and what's not exclusive. So there's 7 games that if you don't own an Xbox, these are the games you're going to look to see, am I going to buy one of these or am I going to buy a PS4 or do I already have a PS4 type thing? But there are so many games on there for people who already own Xbox. They really... Coming out of the gate, they had to show games. That was the number one thing Xbox had to do. Nobody wanted 15 minutes of teraflops and transistors and bits and bytes and pictures of computer chips. What they wanted was games, and for them to come out and 5 minutes in say, "We're going to give you 42 games tonight," so buckle in because it's going to be a good ride. If you have an Xbox, so you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, and the variety I think is there too, right? Any good launch racing games tend to, especially with the weather effects and things like that. So Forza Motorsport 7 was the first title that they brought out there. I think that's been the same as the first title I think in every E3 since Forza has kind of taken over the mantle from PGR, Project Gotham Racing, and so. One of the things I just wanted to comment about with the Forza presentation that I thought was weird that early, the reveal of a Porsche, Porsche 911 GT. I didn't write down the actual model because there's no way in hell that I'm ever going to purchase that vehicle.
Yeah, I'm going to have a real hard time getting that in my home theater stand. Dean just mentioned in the chat here, did anybody care about the Porsche? And I got to tell you,
no.
Much like teraflops, that Porsche seemed like Xbox got offered a lot of money to show a car on stage, and they took that money and they thought, well, maybe this will offset some costs of this of this major.
So you're good. Don't sweat.
Perhaps the Venn diagram of people who really love expensive cars and can afford expensive cars, and the people who really love expensive consoles and can afford expensive consoles. Maybe that Venn diagram does overlap, and there are a group of people there that would hit. But I don't know if you're excited, if you love Forza and you're excited about Forza, and the sales figures would show that many people are excited about Forza, then you probably like cars, right? So it's not too terrible of a stretch. I'm just glad that they did that and that was the only sort of weird type of stage set dressing that they had, other than the Shoutcaster guy, which was kind of, it took me, I don't know much about the whole online multiplayer scene, so maybe that's a very common thing, and maybe that guy's very famous, but I just didn't know about him. So those are the two kind of weird things, but I'm glad that they did it. They spun the car around a few times, great, and then they just got onto the games, and that was a good decision anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And so they revealed that. I mean, effectively, the Porsche reveal was there so that they could show off the cover art for the game itself. And they did the same thing with Forza 6, the same thing with Forza 5. They've always had one supercar kind of attached to it. And so it's just interesting they chose to use that, and then to use the time after telling us, hey, there's a ton of games we're going to go through. It's like, I'm going to be here, guys. But then when they got into the gameplay, and it just looked incredible.
Mm-hmm.
There was some I know P1 you noticed some details in there that were just stuff that it's like I wouldn't have even thought, right? Like you mentioned was it the wipers?
Yeah, we're just talking about that in the chat here. The windshield wipers. I mean, I drive a Mazda CX-5, and I get that bad boy up to about 140 kilometers an hour. My wipers stay tight to that windshield. But I mean, you're driving a Porsche here in Forza, and the wind's raining, and those wipers were bumping. And I got to give them credit. That's an attention to detail. You know, back in Gran Turismo 1 or 2 or 3, the wipers don't move if there even is wipers. So that is, I guess, that's why you need 6 teraflops.
One entire teraflop dedicated just to windshield wiper physics. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So that's coming out October 3rd, and that will be, you'll have that for a month before you get your Xbox One X, and so you'll get to play it, and then you'll get your graphical upgrade after that.
The one thing I wanted
then shifted.
Sorry, I just want to say one thing about that. They were very, very specific in saying that on the Xbox One X, this will be locked in at 4K gaming and 60 frames per second, but they didn't mention what that would run at on the other ones. And that is my biggest fear with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, is that I am terrified that developers are going to start making games optimized for those systems and giving us downgraded ports on the other systems instead of doing it the other way around. I don't want to have spent $250 or $300 on my Xbox One S just to find out that my frame rates dipped to 15 frames per second because I only have however many teraflops that has.
I bet it'll probably all be based on sales. So if the user base doesn't support the developers putting in the extra money, the extra time essentially to optimize specifically for 4K resolution, because that is money, that does take time and effort and everything, then they're probably not going to do it. They're going to want to cut corners as much as they can. I can only imagine that if there was incentive by Sony or by Microsoft to optimize, maybe there was some sort of kickback, or some sort of monetary support to say, if you develop it and you get it looking really great so that we can sell more consoles, then it might happen. But I definitely see the fear. I'm personally not too concerned about it because it's, the path of least resistance is what these developers are going to do, and least resistance is not spending the money and spending the time to optimize for 4K, especially if the user base just isn't there yet. That's my thought. And maybe that'll help you back away from the cliff. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm going to just come to you from now on when I have fears, because that was like, I felt like I was laying down on the sofa and you were telling me that my mother was the source of my problems. That was great. Caleb J. Ross, fantastic.
Did they mention?
So let's,
I was going to say,
go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
And I remember Phil saying, like, if you have Forza, if you have Killer Instinct, if you have Minecraft, these upgrades are free and everything. So I'm only a little concerned is the 4K update, maybe for other games, third-party games, might be an additional charge, but I don't think it'll happen. But he did say, I believe, when he said that laid out those 5 games, that Xbox will be upgrading them for you for free.
Yeah,
so
that is strange.
I don't know if it's a little starting, I don't know if it's just warn you that we never said all these upgrades are going to be free. Just I wonder. That's the only thing I caught as a wording.
I think for the third party, I think it's worth mentioning that there were like 30 titles that are like, yeah, we're gonna roll out a patch for it. Notable there, I think, was like Final Fantasy 15. They said Rocket League was gonna get an update. Yeah. So I didn't catch all the names because they rattled off a ton, and then they just did the scrolling animation where they showed a bunch of cover art.
I think I speak for everyone
good.
when I say, thank God that Minecraft is going to be 4K. Am I right?
Mhm.
Finally. Finally, this
clear up this
voxel
graphic.
graphic thing that's not supposed to really look that great is going to look fantastic. I'm really excited about that.
That draw distance.
So let's
that draw distance was
let's talk
incredible.
about Minecraft. Yeah, like that. Yes, there is the new coat of polish that they're talking about, but the big news for Minecraft.
Crossplay.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Crossplay on all devices and all consoles. That's a game changer, I think.
Yeah.
For those who love
and
Minecraft, let me say that, but it is a step in the right direction,
Right.
I think.
But who
other-
owns that, I wonder? Because they said that is it something? Because there still has to be one entity that facilitates and supports monetarily that crossplay, the infrastructure to support that crossplay. Mm-hmm. Who's going to own that? Because that person's going to have a much bigger, I don't know what the metaphor is I'm looking for here, a much bigger slice of the pie. They're going to have a stronger grasp on it. So if it's something that's facilitated by Microsoft, they're going to have a lot of pull onto how to force other developers and other console manufacturers to adopt this. I don't know how that's personally going to work out, because historically there hasn't been a lot of playing nicely together, I don't think. So I don't know. I'm excited to see how it goes, but it is a good step. And I think however it works out, obviously he wouldn't have announced it if that wasn't already thought through and figured out. So I think that's really, really cool. And hopefully that does set the stage for larger things than say just Minecraft. I say just Minecraft, not to dismiss it, but yeah. Minecraft is a fairly simple thing. It's not like it's a giant MMORPG type of thing. So
definitely
Microsoft.
Well, and Microsoft bought.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Oh, no, I was saying exactly what Musty was saying. Microsoft bought Minecraft, so it will be them who runs it. And that was the 8-bit beer. So
it's empty.
I do want to say one thing is, this is huge. I mean, we talk about sometimes some of these gaming companies get a negative sort of stigma attached to them, and Microsoft probably takes heat more than a lot of people, and maybe a little bit more than it deserves. But for them, I assume this had to have been initiated by them. There was a Nintendo Switch in the Microsoft press conference at E3 this year. Like, they showed a Nintendo Switch. Microsoft at some point, I'm guessing they didn't show the PS4 for reasons, but they at some point they must have initiated this and said, let's make this happen. I mean, everybody thought it was strange enough that we saw Minecraft on Nintendo products anyway. Mm-hmm. Does this now maybe open the door for the next Legend of Zelda to be in true HDR 4K upres on your Xbox One
X? Gel insults. I think that they just realize now that Nintendo isn't a direct competitor. I think they're finally starting to understand that and realize that. I mean, when Nintendo announced the Switch, I remember there were tweets, I think from both Microsoft and Sony, congratulating Nintendo. I mean, they acknowledged that Nintendo is the grandfather. Nintendo's been a company that's been around since the late 1800s. Obviously not always making video games, but they've been around for a long time. And they're sort of the granddaddy, and I think they acknowledge that and they know that. But more importantly, I think they finally realize that they're not necessarily direct competitors, and Nintendo doesn't want to be a direct competitor, and they don't try to be. And so I think it's part of that. I'll leave it at that. I just don't think that they necessarily see them as direct competitors anymore. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm being too nice.
I think even Sony's trying to embrace that at this point, because they were talking about how they don't, they understand the Switch is selling well, and they think that most people will buy both, if they want both. But yeah, maybe we're finally getting some harmony in this thing, a little bit potentially. But yeah, cross-platform in general, I think is awesome. I think I'm pleased to see that, and they didn't dwell on it either. I mean, they showed the quick sort of they showed the quick video for it, and previously they've done like big demos and things like that. Everyone knows what Minecraft is now. At least anyone who would be watching a press conference at E3 understands what Minecraft is, and so I think in general, I think we're starting to see some smarter. Either they're writing the presentations better or something, but this one. We can talk about EA later, but this one I think tried to hit those points, and moving quickly from topic to topic was good. They strung together a couple of similar play style games. So we had like the Player Unknown Battlegrounds, which is the PC port that's going to be enhanced. I'm not familiar with that game. It seems like that and the Darwin Project are both, I guess, Hunger Games esque type deathmatch type games, and so that may be up your alley. But the Darwin Project, I think that the visual style on that was intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had the guy come out and start yelling, and that was jarring. I think I saw some people say in the chat that was weird. It was it was a bit out of place. I
think that was their attempt at showing that this is an esports game.
Mm-hmm.
But prepare to see it as live on Twitch. Where people are going to be competing for thousands of dollars to be the best at this game. Because if you see most of the like shooting games on Twitch, they're for competitive battle, their announcers usually go wild and to really hype up their games. So I think that's the goal was with the guy. I admit he threw it off the show a little bit because we are focused in on this beautiful picture of a game going on, and also they pull back and there's a guy just standing on the stage screaming. So
his title is Shoutcaster, so I guess it kind of makes sense that he would be yelling. What else is he going to do? But that speaks to one of the, if I can jump into sort of one of my overall negatives of the Microsoft thing, and this is probably not just Microsoft, this is probably video games in general, but I personally have never really been into multiplayer online anything. Like it's single player campaigns all the time for me. I just, I'm not fun enough for people to play video games with. So it seemed like to me there was so much, every single game that was released, I would be really excited during the first 30 seconds. And then I would realize, oh, now there's all these other people, and it's a whatever you want to call a multiplayer thing. And I would sort of immediately remove myself from it. And I'm hoping that I'm just unique in the sense that I don't care about multiplayer. I'm assuming that I am unique in that respect. Otherwise, they wouldn't make these games. But that's my biggest fear, is that the trend is going to go to sort of only multiplayer experiences. Anthem, which I know P1 you probably want to talk a little bit about as we get through this, looked really, really, really cool until I started to realize there's probably no single player campaign, and if there is, it's going to be a terrible one. So I kind of lost all interest and I deflated very quickly. So that was sort of my one not really excited part for the Microsoft portion of it anyway.
So one of the big things, to kind of continue on the multiplayer theme, but Sea of Thieves got a significant gameplay demo.
Mm-hmm.
It was pre-prepared, but they did basically I feel like it's Rare's kind of return to form. The humor in that presentation of that game was really nice. Like they were very tongue in cheek with some of the commentary. At first they're like walking around and he's like, "Oh, okay, we're on a ship," and and then they had some. What were the names? The
names of the characters. There was Betty, Beck. I don't know.
Barnacle Betty, Bosun Bill. There was Hawken. The game looks fun. The names and the announcer.
We don't need to talk about it.
No, the game looks fun. It looks like Rare is back to form.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see. It was colorful. It was bright. It was a fun art style. If you're into first-person online MMOs, which this very clearly is, this is something I think that you will enjoy. And if you're not, maybe watch some streams of it and just enjoy some of those names, because I'm sure the gamer tags will all be full of nautical themes.
I think everything felt normal in that video, and then they walked up to the cannon and there was a prompt to jump in the cannon. And at that point, I think it was just like, "Are you serious? We're really doing this?"
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
himself. So.
To be fair, there was sentient skeletons. So if you weren't if your willing suspension of disbelief wasn't shattered until the cannon part, then I don't know. Maybe that's on you, Musty.
Could be.
I think that's a sign. That's just a sign of the fact that the game is fun. It's not taking itself too seriously. It's not a military gray brown shooter. It's not, Porsches in the rain. It's, let's go find a chest full of gold and some skeletons and let's rocket ourselves across the ocean under the ship via this cannon.
So P1, what kind of advantage will we have in Sea of Thieves if you are there?
So you'll be able to actually spell bosun correctly. First off, for your name, as well. I instantly approve. This is now I wasn't really supposed to talk about this, but it's a Cartridge Club exclusive. Rare reached out to us, and I instantly improve the effectiveness of all missiles on board your pirate ship. Now they haven't yet confirmed whether or not there will actually be missiles in the game, so that's still up in the air.
But whether there are or aren't, they're going to be improved. So
that's right. That's right.
Up for it. Excellent. Do you guys have Ryan? Did you have any comments on Sea of Thieves? Does this scratch your N64 rare itch, or
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Okay. It doesn't look interesting to me at all. It's not to say it doesn't look. I'm not saying it looks bad. Just like I guess the whole. I kind of like the whole the boat battle. I thought that was kind of cool with the cannons, but like I don't know. Just the whole thing it wasn't impressive to me. So didn't look bad. Just didn't look like my style of game I would want to play. So
yeah, that's totally fair. Not every game is for everyone.
Just but like I will admit there were games that I did like at the show. So
well, let's go with one.
One of the ones that but I just read right here, and it's part of the X Play Anywhere. But Super Lucky Tail, that one really scratched my N64 itch more than anything. It looked now at first I got like a hair excited for this one because I saw Red Tail flopping around, and I know it's Microsoft, and I thought this was a Conquer game. For a brief second, I thought it was a Conquer game, and I was like, they're bringing it back. And then no, it panned back. I'm like, oh, it's okay, but it's an orange fox named Lucky Tail or something like that. So it kind of was like, well, it almost looked like the same kind of gameplay from a Conquer game because they showed he's got the helicopter tail. It's a 3D platformer. I really do enjoy this kind of. They got the big googly eyes, so it kind of looks like a Rare game. It's not made by Rare. I'm still trying to find out who's making it, but like I see right now, it's part of Xbox Play Anywhere. Is that their streaming service? That Xbox?
No, so Play Anywhere is the if you purchase it on Xbox, you also get it. You can also get it on Windows.
Okay, but I am actually really interested. That was the one that I think. I know it sounds dumb because it wasn't one of the big highlight ones. It's just airbrushed towards the end.
It was definitely one that I think got. To me, it looked like Super Mario 3D World. Like there was that same kind of like. It's a 3D platformer, but it didn't look like you were rotating the camera a ton. And then there were some sections where it was snapping to what seemed to be 2.5D. And it just, it looked playful. It was cute, for lack of a better term. I think
seems like it should be my kind of game. I'm a huge fan of 3D platformers. I'm a huge fan of platformers in general. My fear is that this one, at least based on this early trailer, didn't seem to contribute much to evolving the medium or involving the genre. It seemed like a very basic standard collectathon, even though that term is overused, I think. But it seems like a very basic standard 3D kind of platformer game. And I'm hoping there's some sort of mechanic in there. I'm hoping there's something unique in there. I know it looked like there was some underground digging sort of mechanic that looked kind of cool. But I'm hoping there's something more there than what I saw, because this is a game that I would absolutely seriously consider a purchase of the Xbox just for this game. It's a kind of game that looks like I should love it. So I'm hoping there's something else there. We'll see as more comes out. I was also a little bit jarred by just the term super in the title. I just haven't seen that in so long. And so I'm wondering if that was sort of a purposeful thing. I don't know if there's a previous Lucky Tale or something like this, and this really is sort of a sequel or an extension. I don't know. But I also think it's probably there to sort of tickle that nostalgic nerve that a lot of us have with the term super. I think they knew what they were doing there, probably.
This is actually a reskin of an Oculus Rift game that was titled Super Lucky's Tale. I'm not kidding. It's a VR game.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, and it was done as a tribute to N64 3D collectathon platformers. Wow. So Yeah, and that they took Microsoft said, you know what, this is great. Let's not make it a VR game because maybe that's not the next big thing. And the trailer came on, and my wife was watching with us when we watched E3. And the first thing she said as soon as she saw it was, "Order that today. Get it now."
Really?
So it looks. I got to give Microsoft credit because it looks fun. It looks. You guys have said it all. So it's nice. This whole press conference, now this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not. I don't mean it that way. But I felt like I could have been watching a Nintendo press conference because there are so many titles in here that it felt like Microsoft was taking a chance on or stepping away from what is generally considered their core audience, and that made me so happy. And this is just one of those titles, and it looks like a really fun game. I don't have an Oculus Rift, so maybe I'll check it out.
I got Google Cardboard over here if you want me to send it to you. Let's see. There you go. Got some Google Cardboard. I can send that.
I'll try it on.
So I think interesting omission from the presentation. There was no mention of VR. Period. I don't think I heard it once.
No.
And I think that was a smart move. You don't want to sully the push for. That's awesome.
Sorry.
You don't want to sully the push for new hardware by then teasing the fact that, oh well, there might be another $500 peripheral that you're going to have to tack on to this, or more. And so I think that's smart. I think they're probably going to play the wait game, and we'll see if HoloLens is in any better shape for next year. I don't know. I don't see it anytime soon.
That was one of my surprises. Right? What's that?
They didn't mention HoloLens, did they? This whole presentation either.
No, there was no mention of VR, AR, anything like that.
Yeah. And that was one of the sort of pseudo surprises, I guess, from my perspective, is I anticipated they would mention it somewhat or say something about it. Them not mentioning it, do you think that's just an acknowledgement that it's not? Do you think them not mentioning it is enough of an acknowledgement of them saying it's just not going to happen, or do you think they just felt like this wasn't really the right sort of scene? This wasn't what people really came here for, so let's save that for something else? Because I have a feeling they're, from my perspective, it seems like they're trying to use this AR stuff more as a veneer and overlay to other activities besides gaming, something to enhance just the professional realm, maybe even to some degree, and kind of remove it from gaming a little bit, which is personally where I think AR, VR is better suited for anyway. I'm sort of a virtual reality. I don't care about it. I'm curmudgeon that way. So do you think there's any, is it worth looking deeper into the fact that they didn't mention it at all?
Ryan, do you have a comment on that?
No, the only thing is I think Musty, I didn't think about it until you said it, but I think you said it best with the reason probably they didn't want to mention something like that is because here's an additional, money you need to spend to play this basically this way on your console. I think just with the price that they were going to come with, that they wanted to keep the money to a minimum. So I think that's probably the idea behind it, because I would have thought the HoloLens would have been mentioned, but I guess I don't know, maybe they're still just trying to wash the reveal from the original Xbox One out of people's memory, which was not really about the games, more about like what the Xbox One can do, not so much the games. And this one was just strictly games, in a Porsche.
That's right. And a yelling guy.
Yeah.
So, T1, let's have you pick the next game to talk about.
I'm going to talk about Anthem, Musty. So if you're not ready to talk about that, pick someone else.
Let's talk about Anthem, because that demo was so Anthem got initially teased yesterday in the E3 presentation. I'll just mention that now so that we don't have to mention it later. There was like a 45-second teaser that kind of teased a. It was 50. You coined the term 54 seconds.
I watched it 18 times.
Sure, some of that was so they could put something for you to click on to go to the next video. What term did you coin for this game, or at least preemptively?
Attack on BioWare. people living inside a walled city with giant monsters outside. I can't take all the credit for that. That's actually Fitnats. He came up with that, and I told him I was going to take the credit, but now that he's in the chat, I feel bad, and he could call me out.
So you're a liar, huh?
Yeah.
Terrible.
But yeah, Attack on BioWare,
Yes.
I think is what we were calling it. So this game starts. I'm just going to jump in here. I'm taking over.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it.
I am a BioWare fan. Mass Effect 2, one of my favorite games. Mass Effect 3, really enjoyed it. Have not yet played Andromeda, waiting for the definitive Game of the Year HDR edition. So when they said we're making a new game, I was instantly curious. And it came on, we saw the teaser. Didn't really tell us much, but it was pretty. I like pretty. So today, as we were watching the event, it was getting towards the end, and we were trying to figure out what was left, what was coming up next. And then we realized, oh man, we haven't seen Anthem yet, and we know we're seeing that. So it starts, and it's in first person. So for anybody who doesn't know, I am not a fan of the first person point of view. I get lost in that space. I can't find my way in it. I just don't enjoy it, with the exception of Overwatch, because I would do anything for Blizzard. So it starts in first person, and instantly I was like, oh, come on. And the guys get the same helmet head hair that every person in BioWare has had since the dawn of KOTOR. And it was just like, all right, well, it's first person. I guess it's just not going to be for me. I'll try and be excited for Musty, because I know he likes first person games. I know he likes BioWare. So then they're walking down, and they get into this mech. So what this game is these people live in these walled off cities, and they get in these mech suits, essentially. Think the power suit.
Kind of like power armor, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Iron Man, if you will. So there's 3 different types: tank, ranger, and what I assume is a caster class. Your warlock, healer, or whatever. And when they get into the suits, it switches to third person. And at that moment, they walk out of the city into this. They're looking into this beautiful, lush forest, and it's in third person. And at that moment, I was in. I was sold. They're flying around. It looks like Destiny meets Titanfall meets Mass Effect. It actually, I think at one point I said this is what Xenoblade Chronicles X was supposed to be, based on the 4 minutes and 18 seconds that we saw today. It looks great.
Big monsters. I was excited that it turned, because I was like, with the moment that you saw the arm, because the arm clears this curtain in front of you, and I think I could just. You said something. I said I won't repeat.
Patrick Swayze is first person.
Patrick Swayze. and I was just like, great, I'm gonna have to play this game by myself. And then when it turned, deep down, I was hoping, I'm like, please go into third person. One of the points you made is like, maybe this is the effect of Andromeda, right? You said, somebody said, I don't know if it was you or Fitnat, but you said,
yeah,
you don't have to worry about facial animations if you don't show the face. And surprisingly, that's exactly what happened. Is all of a sudden they showed the face. There was like a second of her face before the helmet closed up, but
it makes sense. You put all of this work into these mech suits. I mean, they clearly put a lot of love into these suits, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of customization in those. And I'm totally reading into that just based on the trailer that I've watched 7 times now since it ended. But it only makes sense to make it third person. That's another reason I don't like first person. Is I put all this effort and this time into my character. I want to see my character, and now I'm going to be able to. And the fact that it showed on the Xbox press conference. I'm sure we're going to see it at Sony as well. But I'm actually leaning towards getting it on my Xbox, and that's a testament to I think the multiplayer aspect of this game. I know Caleb mentioned he likes single player games, and Pam also mentioned over on the forums at www.cartridgeclub.org in the E3 thread that she loves multiplayer games, but she prefers them single player. I actually think that if this is a game that I can play on my own, and then when you're on, you can jump in, or Eric can jump in, James can jump in. If the guys can just jump in and play and go take down, this could be Monster Hunter for the Xbox. Steven Eider will be buying an Xbox One S tomorrow when he sees this trailer. If he finds out that he's crafting armor out of the bones of these things. I don't know. It looked great. I'm super excited for it, and it was the best way. It was the cherry on top of a delicious Xbox press conference for me.
yeah, I'm psyched, and I know that I was the moment they did the little reveal, right? I was like, I need to know what's going on. Like, I cannot wait 24 hours for this to understand what's going on. I waited patiently, ish, and I was not disappointed. BioWare has not done a new IP that I have not been satisfied with, and so I'm glad that they aren't disappointing me at this point. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a blast, and I'm hoping. I didn't get into Destiny. That really wasn't my jam, but I think that whatever this is, and if it has the same kind of polish that a BioWare game should have, then I would expect that this will be something that has legs. Hopefully, hopefully more legs than some of the other kind of, the Division kind of did something similar with their drop in, drop out multiplayer. So
the Division's single player was weak, though. And it just felt too samey to me. This, I don't know. I trust BioWare does story and single player as good as anyone. You can't have a conversation of the top 5, game developers that for story and single player gameplay and not mention BioWare. I mean, you can, but you'd be wrong. So,
yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, any other?
I have something to say.
Do you have some comments on Anthem there?
Just a couple things I want to say real quick. I hope this isn't just an online only game. I hope it is co-op being an option, not a requirement, because I think I would get more fun just exploring, because this world looked beautiful. I like to just be by myself more, but I do like the option, maybe if doing the missions or with a friend. I like that as an option. I don't want it to be a requirement. And my buddy Mike, who is also in the chat watching this here, he said something to me too, because I heard someone say someone compare it to Destiny a little bit, but that's the first thing that came to his mind. And he said, I think they even mentioned, like when she was talking to him before he left the place, that it says leave the walls, save people, explore the unknown. It sounds like Destiny, and we're comparing it, just talking to each other, that it looks like it's a combo between Titanfall and Destiny. And I'm wondering if they're just using, because it's EA, like some of the leftover sprites for the mech suits a little bit for it. But it looks fun. Like I said, I just hope it isn't an online only game. That's the only thing about it. So
yeah, I think I'm hoping you're right. That would give it signage up for your most populated time is going to be right off the bat, and historical standards BioWare games are ones that 4 years later and get the same effect that you did day one. Yeah. Any other comments on Anthem? You guys want to move on to something?
Caleb, you have something.
Nothing on Anthem. Sorry.
Nothing on Anthem? No, that's fine. That's fine. Let's talk about Shadow War for just a couple minutes. I have expressed that this game, it was my answer on last week's weekly, was that this was the game that I was most excited for, that it had already been announced, and so I am still very much looking forward to that. They did a demo of some of the extension of the first game. The Nemesis system is back, and if you recall, or if you have played the first game, you sort of come across these. So you're this ranger who has been kind of fused together with a wraith, so you're like half ranger, half wraith, and you can kind of go between the shadow world and the real world. And what you have to do is kind of build your allegiances with these orcs to kind of build an army. And so the that I wanted to see here was what is it that you're doing to kind of make that happen. And they showed a demo of you each other and you kind of jump in and kind of destroy all of them except for one, and then you end up his allegiance, and then suddenly him and everyone who follows him is part of your army. This looks good. There's a story trailer that I would encourage you to go watch, and it involves Sauron and the Ring of Power and all of that. The demo that they showed in the presentation went on a little bit long. I think they probably could have trimmed that down just a little bit. They started to get into something really deep, like as far as like managing your army, and to even go there and just show screen, and it's kind of intimidating. And I know that at least with those who I was listening to it with, kind of made the comment of first game, because this is going to make a whole lot of no sense to me. And I might agree with you, having not finished the first game. I need to do that first, but for it, I think that historically we've had poor demos that end up still being great games, and so I think I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of glad that they pushed it back, because I feel like if that was coming in August, I think that I'd be rushed. So this gives them a little bit more of a chance to breathe, and I think maybe that's a byproduct of Red Dead Redemption moving to next year. Possibly. They suddenly realized they had a window and they could take advantage of it. But any thoughts or comments on Shadow of War, or just something else?
The biggest thing I noticed was those the Orogs, and I think there were some orcs there. I didn't notice any Urukai. They were really gabby. Like these guys, he was rattling off like he was. I think somebody used the term erudite in a tweet earlier, and I don't want to take credit for it because I think it was somebody famous, and everybody would call me out. But I just felt he was talking a lot. It was like, this guy looks like a big hulking menace, and I don't expect a Cockney accent and quick, a sharp wit to come out of him. That was the only thing that sort of turned me off a little bit. But the game does look great, and I do love Middle Earth, and maybe it's built for a marathon and not a sprint. Who knows?
I hadn't played the first game. Was there at all a sense of humor similar to that in the first game at all, or was this truly out of left field?
No, I don't think so. It seemed a lot more serious, but you weren't really getting into a positive relationship with any of these orcs in the first game. I think in that one, you sort of would dominate them, and then they would answer to you, but you weren't like chummy with them. So I'm not sure where that. Maybe somebody answered some surveys and said you need to inject a little more levity into this. But maybe that's the direction they took. Maybe that's just that one orc's personality. But the thing about those games is they kind of tout no one's experience is like anybody else's. You are there's some kind of randomness to everything down to their appearance and the names and all of that. So you kind of get a unique experience. So interested to see where that goes. But it seems like some people want to hear us talk about Ori. So let's go ahead and hit that. I will let. Who wants to go first? Let's have Caleb. Let's have you talk about Ori.
I'll talk about it. So it might seem strange, though. I've actually never played Ori and the Blind Forest, the first one. But it's one of those games that has been on my backlog for a very, very long time. Perhaps I could hit that for O on the Cartridge Club Alphabet Backlog Challenge. But it's absolutely the kind of game that I think I've said this already a couple times during this hangout here. There's a lot of games that seem like the kind of game I would like, so I'm really looking forward to it. The first Ori and the Blind Forest was obviously critically acclaimed. People loved it. They just re-released it, I think, in physical format fairly recently. So it's just one of those things that I think Microsoft is putting a lot of monetary support behind, because it is a very unique thing, especially for Xbox. I think there's not a whole lot of fun platformers or even sort of emotional platformers, I guess, in the way that there are quite a few on PlayStation. So it's a unique kind of IP that I think they're really wanting to push. And I hope it does really well. I mean, I'll leave it at that. I don't have much else to say, considering I haven't played the first one either, but it is something I'm very much looking forward to. I like a game with some emotional weight to it, especially if that emotional weight isn't isn't being transmitted through, I guess, a human vehicle. Like, yeah, I don't know, and not necessarily animals, but I don't know. I like that kind of thing where it's with that. So anyway, I'll stop there, but I'm looking forward to it.
Ryan, do you looking forward to Ori and the Will of the Wisps?
Yes, but probably after I play the first game. So
Yeah.
I have the physical
I have
copy.
to echo that. I have to echo that sentiment as well. So
I have the physical copy, and from just playing it just to try it out, make sure it works and everything. The music is fantastic originally in Ori, from what I've played, and it plays like a Metroidvania kind of game from what I've played, where you're exploring, you have to find all the little open areas. So I like that they're trying to stick with this as a franchise because it looks like something I'll like. I just need to sit down and play the first game. That's all. So hopefully it gives me some more time so I can eventually play it. But I don't. Do they have announced date for this one yet or no?
No.
Okay.
no, I think they said. Did they say 2018 on that? They might have. They didn't lock in a date on that one.
Yeah, it as soon as the trailer started, you knew right away it was Ori. I as well have not yet played the first one. I was lucky enough to have been gifted a digital copy by a very kind and intelligent Cartridge Club member, who will forever be in my heart. And then Xbox gave me the definitive edition for free because I owned the digital copy. So now that there is a sequel, and Ryan's recommendation of it being a Metroidvania means I am definitely. This is a game that I could definitely see the first one making its way to a club game to help entice people to get ready for that second one. I'll have to talk to the people who make those decisions.
You've already promised.
I'll allow it.
Excellent. Let's talk about Ashen P1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you take that one because that one seemed to resonate with you more than at least me. But
so when Ashen started, this trailer looked like it could have been the next step in evolution of Brothers. Now we actually got the next step in evolution of Brothers last night on EA. But this game had a very unique art style, and I think it's been in development for quite a while. I believe it was supposed to be a 2016 release, and has been since pushed. It looks like an action adventure in the deep dark, under, and it's a team of two guys who are going through and they're just fighting things. It looks like a third-person action adventure. The art style looks good. It looks like something that would definitely be up my alley, and it is a console launch exclusive. So this is there's a possibility this makes its way to PS4. So depending on what console I get it on, or maybe even on Switch. And I love playing games on the toilet, so that would be great to be able to add that to my list of games to make me buy a Switch. So it just looked really fun. It looked like the type of game. It looked like it just looked like the type of game that I would enjoy. So I'm hoping to see it make its way here soon. It had a great aesthetic.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it might have been the evolution of Below, which is a game from Cappy that was absent in this E3. In fact, Below was something that got announced like 3-4 years ago. Almost fell into the Cuphead cycle, but I thought maybe they had taken another spin on the visual aesthetic there. But yeah, it was really interesting because the faces had no eyes, nose, or mouth, but they had mustaches and beards, and
there was one enemy, I don't know if you noticed, actually had a sort of blindfold over where their eyes would be, which I thought was a little redundant if they don't have eyes to begin with. But what are you going to do? I'm not sure we're looking for hyperrealism here, but
they had issues with facial animations, and they solved the problem.
That's right.
Can't have face animation problems. Don't have faces.
Get rid of all of it.
I think it looks great. I'm worried, as I have been worried with some of these games, that it looks like it could be a co-op only kind of thing. I mean, it was two characters helping each other out. I can't imagine there being an adventure game that's sort of a dual stick action adventure in the way that Brothers are. If there's combat elements, that's one of the ways that Brothers worked, is because there wasn't combat elements really, or at least very minimal combat elements. This game, Ashen, obviously has combat elements. So my fear again is it's going to be multiplayer only. I hope not. If it's not, this is definitely probably one of the top 3 games that would entice me to get an Xbox. It looks really great. So Dean
pointed out in the chat that this would be the type of game that you would want you wouldn't want it to be a long, sprawling adventure.
Right.
A nice, tightly knit story would be good here. I figure somewhere in the 5 to 8 hour mark would be ideal.
Yeah.
But,
it's an aesthetic that could wear on you very quickly. I think it's very drab, gray, smooth textures, not really many textures to speak of anyway. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Something that does have a lot of flair with regard to visual, they announced the Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which just looked like a ball of chaos.
Yeah, I'm not a Dragon Ball fan, but I can almost feel the Dragon Ball Z fans. Like I feel for them, and I'm happy this game exists for them, because I have a few friends who are big into Dragon Ball Z, and from what they've told me, the history of video games for Dragon Ball Z hasn't been too great. There haven't been a ton of really, really good ones. This seems like it could be a very, very good one that's very authentic to the chaos, as you mentioned, that is inherently Dragon Ball Z. So I'm happy for the fans out there, even though I am not one of those fans.
It was so fast and frenetic. At one point I was like, what are the frames per second on this? So I actually went and I looked it up in preparation for this, and it turns out it was actually well over 9,000.
Wow, well over 9,000. So
well over 9,000.
And there are several numbers higher than 9,000 if I remember correctly. So wow, that's quite the range.
I'm here all week, folks.
This is also true. Let's see. What about the MMO, which I'm going to cry? The actual name of that. What was the actual name of that game?
Let's see.
It was
Life is Strange. That was it. So
it was not Life is Strange.
Are you sure? I think it was
Black Desert. Black Dessert.
There you go. Black Dessert.
Yeah, Black Forest Cake Dessert. The console launch exclusive,
There you go.
fantasy style MMO. Looked fun. Another game that at first I was like, ooh, I want to see more. And then I saw MMO and I was like, ooh, I need to see less. Yeah, but
the combat looked like it was playing more like by at least early 2000s standards. But it looks compelling. But yeah, I guess MMO is a hard thing to take up at this point. We are all limited in what we have to game, and we just said we wanted action to be a 5 to 8 hour game. I think after a while, I think that may start to wear on you. But yeah, but I thought it looked really cool, and I thought it's Microsoft taking some chances, and I think maybe that's the overall theme here is there's we've said it probably a few times at this point, but it's not standard fare. It's something different. It's something unique. Another one that is unique in that there's only been one flavor of this series that's ever been on Xbox is Code Vein. And I think P1, you specifically wanted to talk about Code Vein for a moment, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and my brother is addicted to them to the point that he just injects them into his veins. But Code Vein from Software they're a very talented developer studio, and I am a development studio. And I was intrigued about this when they did their cheesy teaser, Prepare to Dine. But this, and I keep saying the word art style and the aesthetic of this game, but this looked like something I wanted to play. It looked like Bloodborne for I want to say Xbox, but it's available on PS4 as well. It looked like the next evolution of that style of gameplay, and it was
brighter than Bloodborne though. I mean, like it had color to it.
Yeah,
like,
a lot more red.
Bloodborne, you look at it and there was a lot more red. That's just true.
Yeah, but again, it's just
Bloodborne. But
yeah, Xbox. Anytime, a common joke that a lot of people have is Xbox is guns and cars, and that's it. And you go through these games they announced, and there's very few guns or cars, and that makes me so happy because when they canceled Scalebound, everybody thought, oh man, they don't want anything but guns and cars. That's all they want. They're gonna call this the Xbox Bro, and instead of Pro, huh? And Yeah, I knew Bloodborne was a PS4 exclusive. But no, this is it looked good, and I'm excited to see more on it.
I think I really appreciate that. I appreciate that Xbox is and Microsoft is to your point, P1, like taking some chances on things, and I think this is really indicative of the amount of the ability that indie studios, and I don't want to overuse the term indie, but in this case, I'll just use the term indie for anything that is basically someone alone at their computer making a game, or even a small development studio. There's tools available during this generation of consoles that have never been really available during any previous generation of consoles. And we're seeing these small studios that may not have the money to be able to create hyper realistic stuff, but they have the passion and the ideas to create really intriguing environments and intriguing games. And that's where you get a lot of these indie looking games that sort of force graphics to take a back seat. And that's slowly seeping into, I think, just common, the common gamer's mind, is that gamers are starting to realize that they don't need the biggest and best and craziest graphics, which again is kind of where Microsoft and PlayStation in previous generations have kind of focused. And that's really what they've kind of prided themselves on doing. And they realize that's not necessarily what gamers want, because there's more choice out there. And so this whole ID at that thing, the ID at Xbox, and then PlayStation also has their thing. It's the developers basically that you can submit games to be live and digital and all that kind of stuff. There's that whole ecosystem. It's changing the way, it's changing what people look for in games, and this is, I think, is just sort of a reflection of that. It's a bit rambly, but I appreciate it. I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, the montage they did for ID at Xbox was nice. Granted, I was trying to keep up with just writing down the names of the games that I didn't really catch. There was a few that stood out. There's a Dunk Lords, which looks to be an NBA Jam game, with some crazy stuff going on with the floor of the court. Fable Fortune, which looks to be a
Hearthstone
clone, which is great. Maybe that at least the fact that it has the Fable name attached to it is a good sign. We didn't hear anything about Fable aside from that, but maybe that just shows that it's still out, it's still there, and maybe they're going to hang on to it and do something with it soon. But other than that, I mean, a lot of these were kind of, they hit him so quickly that I kind of missed some of the important pieces. But there were some that looked like they were tower defense games. There were some interesting kind of platformy type things. I can just run down the list of names if you want me to. Unless there were any that stuck out.
There was one that looked like Muramasa, the Demon's Blade. It sort of had that sort of aesthetic. It looked like a couple of samurai playing in that style. That one caught my eye. And I think this is one of the best things about E3 is that they can show, the quick staccato, bang, 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 here's a bunch of games, have a look at them. We're going to move on to something else right now. But then on the show floor this week, they can put those up there. Now, obviously, we're not at E3 this year. We hope to be in the future, so we won't be able to report on those. You could definitely go to some great sources like the guys over at the Gaming Outsider and the fellows at Easy Allies who are on the show floor. And the great thing about Easy Allies is all of their coverage starts after the day ends. So you can watch all the live streams and all the video footage that happens throughout the day while they're on the actual floor, and then they start their coverage afterwards. Plug over.
No, good plug, definitely. Yeah, hopefully next year this looks different than being in my basement. So, yeah,
it's pretty much the same, just more people.
Sure. It's a big basement. I mean,
I want to talk about the Artful Escape for a moment, if that's all right.
Yeah, what the hell was that game? Explain it to me if you want.
Yeah, so this game, they start showing this game, and it looks like a beautiful Katamari game, or it's clearly, I believe, a rhythm game, which I don't really think is something that you would expect to see at an Xbox press conference. You know what I mean? You expect chainsaw machine guns and windshield wipers that are moving at 200 miles an hour. You don't expect to see a color-filled rhythm game, and it looked great. this looked like a game that would be a lot of fun to play, and I'm really excited. I definitely want to see more on the Artful Escape.
Escape, yeah. I want to see more only because I have no idea. Like you said, it was funny because you said it's obviously, maybe a rhythm game, because at some point it does kind of look like it's obviously a rhythm game. The guy has a guitar. He's hopping from platform to platform on beat. But then there's also a game called Runner 2, which is like an endless runner game that also has you hopping from platform to platform on beat, but it's an endless runner. So there's other things they can do with that mechanic. I don't know what it is. It does look very cool. It looked like you were sort of playing a high school kid who is sort of trying to come of his own and maybe learn music, and that's his escape or whatever. But then at the same time, you're just sort of, you're on drugs and jumping around on platforms in pajamas, and I have no idea what's going on. I'm very intrigued, but that out of all the trailers, that's honestly the one that sticks in my head the most because I was so confused about it. So maybe that's what they wanted. But I'm definitely going to be keeping up to date on kind of what it ends up looking like. But yeah, very strange.
Yeah, it's.
I think. Go ahead.
I'm done. You go.
Oh, I was going to shift off of that to another one that had a unique art style. But if you had more comments on the Artful Escape, I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was going to bring up the Last Night, which was right before that, and that one screamed Heart of Darkness and flashback and out of this world to me, a little bit, with what looked to be slightly. They didn't really show the combat, but it seemed like there was some cover mechanics going on there. That one just visually was, there was the pixelation, but it was intentional, and it looked interesting.
It looked to me like if the Heart Machine, who were the developers behind Hyper Light Drifter, it looks to me as if someone threw a bunch of money at that development studio and said, make something, and that's kind of what it looks like to me, and in a good way. Throwing money at things can often dilute it. But
is it the same team, or are you?
It's not the same team at all. No. Yeah, just equating, because it has the pixel. It has the sort of, I guess I could call them enhanced pixel look. So Hyper Light Drifter was pixelated, but not restricted to 8-bit, 16-bit sort of thing, similar to the way that The Last Night is pixelated, but obviously using a lot of the technology advances we've had since those generation of consoles. So, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, if someone just took a bunch of money and said, "Hey, Heart Machine, go make a crazier version of and a bigger version of Hyper Light Drifter," and me having just recently played Hyper Light Drifter and loved it, I'm really looking forward to it. So, this is another one of those that's a console launch exclusive, so not specifically exclusive. So, I may be able to play it eventually.
They'll probably make a limited run version for PS4. That's probably going to happen.
I'd be all over it.
Another one that had kind of that unique art style was Deep Rock Galactic, which had
and that one's been on PC for a while. Hasn't that one been on PC? I swear I've watched people stream that.
I've never heard this title before, so I
look it up right now.
I saw the just kind of chunky look to it. It's like chunky Minecraft, but horde mode.
With Total Recall, with the drills, the double drill things, drill tank things.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the first thing I thought of was Total Recall when I saw that game. So
the first thing I thought was Metroid Federation Force with dwarves.
Herbjorn.
Yeah. It looked different.
It did. Let's see.
Did they say that all these games are part of the IDAT program at Xbox?
I think the only ones that were with a montage of quick games that we didn't quite see too much of. I think
because these games all screamed indie to me. That's the main reason why.
There was a lot of indie feel, which I think has been, not that it's lacking on Xbox. It's just that it seems like indies gravitate more toward Steam and PlayStation because they can, and because it seems like the barrier to entry is easier on that side of things. So the fact that they rattled off, there's at least 15 games here that are part of that program, is the games are enough to show at E3. I mean, the same presentation is what the 3 seconds of Cuphead that we saw last year was part of, right? So who knows? Maybe Path of Exile or Brawlout. Brawlout looked like Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I hope Microsoft.
And, like you said, there was. Go ahead.
So, sorry, I hope Microsoft avoids, though, one of the problems with PlayStation is while they embrace indie developers, there's not as much of a gatekeeper as we would like. So there's in the same way that Steam Greenlight can flood Steam with a lot of crappy games. PlayStation, unfortunately, doesn't seem to have quite the gate that it needs to, and there's quite a few crappy games that come through PlayStation as well. Luckily, the sort of algorithms with PlayStation do kind of drown most of those out, but they still exist, and so you can still be searching for an inexpensive game and download and buy a complete turd. And so I'm hoping that Microsoft doesn't do that. I'm hoping there's kind of a gate there. I as I said earlier, and to anyone who just joined, like I don't have an Xbox, so I don't know if maybe this whole system has been in place for a while and it's just foreign to me, but I'm hoping they avoid it. It seems like, though, they are doing better than PlayStation is anyway.
Did nobody really say that name out loud before they announced it to the world, though?
The idiot
Xbox. No, not Deep Rock, Double Galactic Dwarf.
I think the answer is no to both of those situations. No one said either of them out loud.
Yeah, I don't know, because when he said it on stage, the first thing I thought was, "What?" I had to actually stop and register. Like, what did he just say? What did he call their indie developers?
Yeah, and then Shift was the one that you said looked like Muramasa, right?
Yeah, that
Was
one
it
is
Shift?
I want to check some more of that out. That looked like it might have been up my alley.
Let's see. Oh, I want to talk about something that actually I had to keep myself from yelling too loud because I was very excited when Phil came out to talk about backwards compatibility and highlighting it's comical because of the video I made last week talking about backwards compatibility. He threw a number out there that half of Xbox owners have used backwards compatibility at some point, which is nice to see. I bet a bunch of those are rare replay, but even so, the numbers that they were saying, it's good to see Phil back that because it's clearly what people want, and he's not taking the angle of trying to just it's a way for his previous library to continue to live on, because there are people who still love that 360 library, and now there's people who can love the original Xbox library. I had to mute myself because I was clapping a lot. I maybe didn't mute myself for all of that, but yeah. So they announced that later this year, the original Xbox backward compatibility program is going to start rolling in. And
that's a part of all Xbox One owners, correct? That's not just the.
I think from my interpretation, it was. I mean, from my interpretation, I believe that it is an enhancement to the existing backwards compatibility catalog. It is not a unique thing for the Xbox One S or One X or.
Xbone. How about we go Xbone X or Xbone S, or just a regular Xbone?
So why don't we'll just go extra small and double X, and if they release another one, it can be double XL or I guess triple X for the really hardcore gamers.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Xbox BBW. That's going to be the big one. Speaking of hardcore Xbox, oh man, it's going to be great.
But
the people who laugh at that you're revealing something about yourself there, P1.
The game they specifically highlighted, and the one that I was I have been clamoring for another installment in this game, but if they're going to bring back Crimson Skies and they're going to give us a means to play Crimson Skies online again, that is awesome. I'm really really jazzed about that. I'm interested to see what they do with how they are going to deploy this. If we're at a point where I think this is a prediction down the road, but I think that they introduce it. They let you put the disc in, but they're going to have the games on the server somewhere, so for you to download. That's effectively how the 360 BC works now. So what I can see happening is that they introduce this subset of original Xbox games as part of Game Pass. So if you don't have the discs like me, then you can play them as part of that, which actually is what shaping up to be a good value, I think, at this point. But the what I'm interested to see is then, can I put my disc in there and have that work? Or I really don't want to have to pay for those games again. And it's not like this copy of Crimson Skies that I got for $2.95 is gonna, like, I really would hate to have to pay for this again. Let's try and not have that happen. But all in all, I'm happy there. I saw somebody make a comment earlier about how long it takes the Guy game to get backwards compatible, and I think that's a long shot. But overall, I'm pretty happy with backwards compatibility. If you guys have no other comments on that,
I think one thing I'll comment on it is, I think it's important to recognize just how important this is, because Microsoft stands to gain money on old games in really one of two ways. Either they can sell the digital versions, which I'm assuming even if they didn't have backwards compatibility, there may still be older games that you can buy without having the actual disc in order to download. So they can still sell these games in the digital service, whatever the Xbox version of that is called. They can still sell the games in the digital service and make money that way, which is good, of course. But they don't make money, obviously, on original Xbox games that are sold used, of course. So the only other way they stand to gain money is by people now purchasing an Xbox, a current version, a current generation Xbox, so that they can now play their old libraries. So they may be building their user base a little bit by allowing backwards compatibility. But that's really it. I mean, they're not really going to be selling much software based off of backwards compatibility unless they increase that user base, which I think is probably why a lot of companies, PlayStation, Sony included, and this is one of the big things I really dislike about Sony, is that they are so anti-backwards compatibility, and the financial reason is because you lose money in most cases by having backwards compatibility. You don't make money doing that, and so for Xbox to say, yeah, we understand we're probably not going to make a lot of money, because the two ways I said earlier, purchasing the games digitally and increasing your user base, aren't guarantees. So for Xbox just to say, hey, we're doing this because we know you guys want it, is a big deal. It's a really, really big deal. And so that endears me a little bit to Xbox in a way that I wasn't before. So I was happy about that.
I'm trying to see what else we haven't covered yet.
We haven't covered Crackdown 3 yet, and we haven't covered...
Let's talk about Crackdown.
Assassin's Creed
Origins. You want to take that one?
It looked good. I still haven't yet to play the original, the first two, but it's something that's high on my backlog list for Xbox that I want to play. So with this coming out, makes me kind of want to probably maybe rush into playing the first two before the third one comes out. No, Terry Crews, I understand, is not in the game, so sorry about that, people. But it still looks fun where you just kind of just go around blowing stuff up, but it doesn't take itself too serious from my understanding. So.
Yeah, so Crackdown was one of the early 360 titles that they used as a... it sold well because it came with the Halo 3 beta. And it ended up being a very good game. The first one was a lot of fun. You play as a member of the agency, and you are effectively a cop on the street. And there's a lot of growth in that game with regards to your agility and your leaping ability and things like that. And you get those things by doing those things. The more you use your guns, the better you get, more proficient you get with your guns. The better you get, the more driving you do, the better you get at that. There are peppered throughout the open world are orbs that you can collect that are kind of a challenge to acquire. You kind of have to solve some like complex jumping puzzles and things like that to get these orbs, and so it seems like the flavor of that is carrying forward. But it seems like they're really pushing a lot of action. There was a lot of explosions and a lot of just gunplay, and it looks like it could be a lot of fun. It looks like it'd probably be a good multiplayer game, but the original two were very single player centric with multiplayer as an additional feature. So the addition of Terry Crews was for the presentation was nice. I know that there were a lot of people hoping that he was going to be there because of Overwatch, but alas, I think this is the extent of his involvement with the E3. But it looked good. I think a lot of people were thinking the Crackdown was dead in the water because we didn't really hear from it. We didn't hear from them last year, and then they were supposed to be at Gamescom, but then I don't know that they showed up at Gamescom. So we really haven't seen them in a while, and then suddenly they say, hey, November 7th, day one of the Xbox One X release, you'll have Crackdown 3 as a title there, and then of course it will be still playable on everything else.
For a game that's so focused on real-time destruction, the trailer itself didn't really have much of that, which was a little bit surprising. But I think that might just be a symptom of you can probably only show that in a trailer so many times before you get it. Seeing destruction of a building, you can see that in any trailer. The difference here is that it's real time, but from a trailer perspective or from a viewer perspective, you're not going to really know the difference between real time and pre-rendered or whatever. So maybe that's why they didn't do it. But yeah, it looks interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think that one would have been at that point because that was toward the back half of the presentation. I think if they had decided to throw in another gameplay demo, I think that probably wouldn't have played very well. They went big, flashy, Terry Crews yelling, Old Spice commercial. Like it looked fun. I mean, I think, and this hits on a couple of different games that they were showing off. But I feel like we need games that stop taking themselves so seriously. We get stuck in this hyper realism. And even that we have all this graphical power now to do photorealistic people, and we have people dialing it back to hyper pixelized things like Last Night, or you got the Papercraft for the Artful Escape. There's these unique art styles which are making it we're not just getting the same thing. Keep hitting that. More than just the same thing. And then at the same time, then we get the resurgence of Assassin's Creed. They took last year off. They were kind of lampooned for what was it, Unity? Was that the one that had all the bugs?
Yes, but there was still like another year that came out after it. There was still like the following year came out with another one. So I wonder if it's just, I don't think that it's sold as well, the one after it. And I can't remember what that one was called. Unity was the 4-player co-op Assassin's Creed, and then they did one more.
What was the Victorian?
Was it in France, like the French Revolution?
French Revolution, that's the one.
Yeah.
Start with an R, maybe. I don't. They all blend together, right?
Yeah.
But we're going back. We're going back to the beginning, right? We get Assassin's Creed Origins. This is your chance to go back to the beginning and kind of reset things, which I think they kind of needed. I think Assassin's Creed has turned into that annual franchise that was just reiterating for the sake of reiterating. And I think and I'll definitely want to get P1's thoughts on that in a moment here. But because I know that he enjoyed the early Assassin's Creed games, but the fact that this one visually looks great. The demo was weird. I think we were saying in the moment that the demo seemed to go on just a touch long, or that P1 you had a comment about the Assassin's Creed demo.
A lot of attention to detail. He was walking through one of the hallways, and he had his bow or his spear was sticking up out of his back, and they had these hanging tassels, and it hit it, and instead of just clipping through it, it actually, you saw it move with the spear. That was really, that's nice to see that sort of level of attention to detail in what was listed as a pre-alpha build of the game. But they lost me. Ubisoft lost me with Assassin's Creed 3, and nothing they have done since then has made me compelled to go back, including Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah, didn't sell you?
No, I'm based on what I know, things that they have removed that I enjoyed about the first 3 games. Even I'm glad they took 2 years off. And if you're a fan of the franchise, I know a lot of people with Black Flag became fans. This looks like it'll be a lot more of the same and be a lot of fun for those people. But it was not enough to win me back. I'm sure Ubisoft is crushed.
I wanted to mention one thing about what you mentioned. You said you saw the bow or the spear. I was going to say, I noticed that they had a bow and arrow kind of going into it, and it made me start thinking of like how more games are starting to implement the bow and arrow with like, mostly Tomb Raider, and then, Horizon Zero Dawn, bow and arrow. I'm starting to see, there's a couple games here too. What was that one game? That Darwin Project, the character had a bow and arrow for a weapon, basically. So I was wondering if that was starting to become like the new thing for games. That it just kind of stood out to me, the bow and arrow effect.
Tomb Raider kind of, the reboot of Tomb Raider kind of brought that back. Yeah. You had the bullet time. He hopped off did he hop off the horse, or did he just jump from a high spot and
jump from a high spot? Yeah. Shot the arrow, that sort of thing. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
Zelda did it better. Take that, Assassin's Creed.
Who wore it better? Zelda. Fitnat made a point that Metro Exodus also had a bow in it as well. It was a crossbow, but it was a bow nonetheless. That was another one that was pretty, like, I think we were all scratching our head until the end. It's like, what is this? What is this? I can't remember what we speculated that it might be. But some of the effects on that, and I'm switching off of Assassin's Creed. Some of the ones that some of the things that I noticed there, like you had the gas mask on as the character in the Metro one, and you could see the breath kind of fogging up the lower half of the gas mask, which was echoed back to like Metroid Prime, which was really really kind of cool. Yeah, I
the damage on the eye mask as well. Like when you got hit, I wonder if that damage maintains throughout. Like that'd be a cool health indicator. There was another game that did that. Maybe it wasn't one of the Metroid games, that the health indicator was the degree of damage that your face HUD kind of showed. And
the monster design on that was like that. I mean, that came up right after Forza, so we were. I mean, that was our first non-racing game that we really got to see. It was pretty impressive. Granted, it was a cinematic trailer that was showing gameplay. Of course, it was in engine, but you can polish those things too. So I need to obviously realize that game's not coming out for a year, and it probably doesn't look that good. But it was still. It was interesting. The werebear or whatever that there were some character or animal designs in there it was borderline terrifying. Just kind of an interesting way to start that. I was thinking, I'm like, wow, it's a good thing I'm not watching this with my son in the room. Like that would have terrified him. That and the State of Decay 2 trailer.
No, I never played the first one, so I don't know if this existed in the first one. But that whole idea of community building and building up your base and hunting for supplies and stuff, deciding whether or not to shoot people if they're bit by a zombie. Fun fact: shoot them; they're never coming back. That looked interesting to me, so that it actually made me want to check out the original if it has some of those aspects. I'm not into a run around and shoot zombies shooter for the fun of shooting zombies, but I do like the idea of trying to build a fortification and that. I'm definitely interested.
Well, and then there's that question of like, who do you bring in? Like, you could get, you could have a governor situation going on, right? Or for those who have watched
We will
Walking
live
Dead.
under the ruthless dictatorship of myself and my brother.
There you go. Yeah, be like, come on in, guys. Oh man. Yeah, I mean,
Save you from the zombies, but you have to play this game with us in this month.
That's a
compound,
great
right?
game concept. I want someone to actually do that. Like, you sort of hold people hostage to the whims of your own weird fetishes. It's just, that's the game. I would love it.
Okay, just to do a quick time check, we are about an hour away from Bethesda's conference, so we won't go any longer than that. We should make sure if there's anything that we haven't hit that you guys had a special attachment to.
Life is Strange.
Life is
Talk
Strange.
I saw that. I didn't know. I know
Go for
that they announced recently that Life is Strange 2 was going to start work. They were going to start working on making a Life is Strange 2. So I didn't know that this was going to actually come out. I really, really enjoyed the first Life is Strange game, and I played it recently too. It was a game that I bought because I heard it was episodic, and I really like those episodic games. And it's one of the better episodic games I played recently too. So I like the fact that they're getting more. This is a prequel, and I recommend right now, if you can find it. It's not an expensive game. It should be $20 or less.
It's free on PSN right now. So if you're a PSN member, it's free for the whole month of June, I think. So
pick it up if you have PSN. Oh, is it the Pro game or the Plus game?
Plus game, yeah, PS Plus,
okay.
Yeah.
So if you have it, I really do recommend picking that up. If you like episodic games, it's not hard. It's just a really good story, I think, told. And the fact that this is a 3-episodic prequel, I mean, I'm all for it. I hope there's a physical release because I really like the first one. The music is fantastic. So the fact that they're giving me more of that game, I'm really happy about it. So that was a really cool announcement for me. So.
And they said that is coming in August. We get the first episode for that.
Yeah, and I think I know there was some leaks and everything to what you were saying earlier, Ryan. There's that sort of there's speculation that there may actually be 2 games out. There may be a proper sequel, and then there's this being the prequel as well. So they are maybe working on a sequel. Although it could be because the nature of leaks that those are actually one of the same. It'd be very cool if there actually was 2 games coming out. That would be very, very cool. Because I'm also a fan of those types of games in this one as well.
Eric, did you want to talk about Tacoma before we wrap up our final thoughts on the Xbox show?
Did you say Eric?
Yep, I sure did. I'll just edit that out in post.
I can comment on Tacoma a little bit unless somebody else wants to grab it. I know that's by the Gone Home team at Fulbright. From what I understand, it's you sort of awake. At least previous gameplay demos that I saw of that, you kind of awake in a spaceship, and you are you kind of are discovering about what's happened to this ship, but there's some flavor of resource gathering and managing, keeping things running on the ship. At least that's what the early stuff was. They only gave us like 5 seconds of that, which was kind of. It was it was abrupt, but I mean, it's coming out August 2nd, so you're going to get it relatively soon, which is, it's nice to see that game dated too, because that was another one that I think Xbox kind of attached themselves to that one. It's good to see them getting an indie title like that. So let's look at, before we move away from Xbox, we have a couple other things to hit aside from Xbox, but let's talk about something that we think that Xbox could have done better. Let's do better first. Start with P1. Let's start with you. What could Microsoft have done better with their presentation or in general?
I got to tell you that this was about as good as it gets for me. The only 2 gripes I would have, I think, that the live announcer was sort of a misstep, but it wasn't so big that it turned me off. And I'm sure people that are into loud, obnoxious esports announcers probably thought he was great. So I guess that would be my pick. Maybe not put him in there because the show was it was so unlike anything they had done before. I was very happy. I wanted games. They gave me games right in my face. So yeah, the loud guy.
Oh, the loud guy. Caleb, how about you? What's something that you didn't like about the
I think they did. I think they did what they should have done. So my request for something different is going to be selfish, and that's that I wish they would have had longer demonstrations of some of those more indie type games. Some of the ones we've already talked about, some of the weird guitar one. I mean, I wish I would have just known more about that. So I wish they would have taken the sort of long form approach to some of those smaller kind of indie games. Of course, that doesn't make fiscal sense. Their majority audience isn't as big a fan of those games as I might be. So it's a selfish request, but that's one thing I wish would have been different.
Ryan, how about you?
I mean, I would say they're probably the best C3 they've had in a long time, in my opinion, because they really did show a lot of games. But I know this is gonna sound stupid, but I think it went a tad too long. It seems like I don't know. It felt like how long? Do you know how long of a show it was for them?
It was like about an hour and
40
40 minutes, I think, because they started the anthem right at an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds stupid. It sounds stupid because I want to see more games, but it seems like I almost would have felt better if it was a 2-part presentation or something. Like maybe I don't know. It's just I don't know. It didn't. It was just like I said. It's not a major thing. It's just because I'm like, geez, another exclusive. Wow, another game. I'm like, yeah. Honestly, I was just thinking in my head when they're gonna start wrapping this up and everything, you know. But I just a little nitpicky. I was expecting some things and I didn't see it, but that's not a bad thing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying to think of something that wasn't already mentioned because I think P1 said it with the screaming guy and maybe the Porsche. You know, I guess like those are the two biggest gripes in my presentation of the show. I guess the biggest gripes, but those are really minuscule, if anything. So.
Yeah. So for me, I think, and I mentioned this as a positive earlier, but at the same time, I think that you disrupt the base when you don't show some of your biggest franchises. You know, the fact that there was no Halo, there were rumors floating around about a Halo something, not 6. They didn't say 6 was ready at this point. I was hoping that they would have floated a Halo 6 multiplayer beta to come at some point early next year or something, just to make sure people knew that they were working on it, even though we know that they're working on it. Because what else does 343 do except turn out Halo games? But the fact that there wasn't one, I think that could upset some people, but then they'll turn around next year and that'll be the big focus of everything. I would venture to guess. So
I think Dean just said it, I think probably a little bit the best word. They could have shaved a little time off of the Assassin's Creed presentation and maybe a little Shadow Mortar. I mean, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft's got their own show coming up tomorrow where they can show.
I was surprised that they gave it as much time as they did. But some of the little details, like we said, like those are things that you want to know, you want to catch. And I think the fact that we caught, the fact that you caught those little things happening on such an early build of the game shows that they're going way into the minutia when it comes to making that game. And so I think that's
they're definitely not going to forget to put faces on the NPCs this time.
That's good. This is a good thing. And let's go like one thing you're excited for about Xbox. Start with Ryan. Let's go with you.
Besides, I guess because like I said, that Tales game, Super Tales, Legend of Super Tales, Super Lucky Tales. I'm sorry, I have my notes right here. That really made me happy seeing a game like that because that's one of my favorite style of games to play. It's a 3D platformer, and it's a style of game that just seems to have disappeared over the last decade or so. So to see a game like that come out made me really happy. The Life is Strange announcement made me really happy, and the backwards compatibility was a really big. I mean, I think it was really cool just to see that. Where I'm like, oh, it's and they're supposed to be enhanced versions of the Xbox One games. Was I think a really cool announcement for them.
Excellent. Caleb, how about you? Something that excited you?
I'm a couple things that excited me. One is the possibility that the price of the standard Xbox Ones may decrease, though I haven't been able to verify the $199 claim that has been made. I would love to see that as a possibility now that the X is coming out. And that should happen. So I'm just excited about that because it might mean that I'll be able to join the Xbox lovers soon. But then I'm also just really happy for backwards compatibility, even though it doesn't affect me at all. The fact that it's happening, and for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, I think that's a really important step for a developer, for a company to make. So very excited about that.
And P1, how about you?
I wanted games, and they gave me games. There is a possibility in the future that Overwatch will come out of my disk drive. That made me really happy. And having Anthem launch or have the world premiere first trailer on the Microsoft conference has made me connect that game to that console in my brain already. I know it's available on PS4, but in my mind, I have made that connection. That is, to me now, that seems like it is a Microsoft game. That is an Xbox game now. And that, I think, is brilliant for them to do that. So that is, I'm just excited about Anthem. They could have just come out and showed us 90 minutes of a Porsche and then showed me Anthem, and I would have been happy.
Yeah.
If they could have shown me somebody playing Anthem in the Porsche.
I'm gonna echo Anthem as that thing. Backwards compatibility is obviously important. I've said that, but I wanted it to be everything that I was hoping that Anthem would be. It was, and the fact that I'm very much looking forward to that, and I hope that that they get into that. I hope we get to see more soon. Like, I will probably be looking for gameplay demos if they have it, and hopefully that game comes out with the same level of polish that was in that presentation, because it looked great. So let's shift gears. We're not going to go to EA just yet. I want to just quickly bring up, and I wish we could show everyone the trailer, but the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer came out last night. I did all of you get to watch it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Saw it this morning. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it looks. You guys want to quickly just kind of talk about what you saw and what you thought about it?
Looks like an RPG I would want to play. Looks like an RPG I would want to play. I still have yet to play the first two. I have the 2.5 and 1.5 HD remakes for the PS3. It's something I really do want to play. So I hope to get to them before the third one comes out, but we don't know when the third one's officially coming out yet. So I'm pretty sure I'll have some time for it.
P1, did you are you looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3? Is that something that's going to be on your?
Not even a little. It looked really fun. I know it's that franchise has a massive fan base who are fanatic about it. I am not one of those people. But I am excited for the people who are. It's going to play amazing on their PlayStation 6. I imagine that will be its best home in full 8K HD DVR DVD VR AR exclusively for console launch month on PlayStation 4 holodeck. No, it looked good. It's not for me. So
I was a big fan of the first one. Yeah. I haven't played the second one. I was a big fan of the first one. I actually had a weird sort of gaming hiatus. I haven't really played any consoles between. I had a PlayStation 2, had nothing up until a PlayStation 4, and that includes Microsoft, obviously that includes Nintendo. Gaming didn't exist for me for about like 7-8 years. So I missed all of that good stuff, but I have very fond memories of the first one. I liked it a lot. And so I am definitely looking forward to the third one on my PlayStation 8.
I thought it looked good. One thing that they teased at the end was that the next trailer for it was going to come out at this D23 convention. I have no idea what this is.
Disney does it once a year.
It's the Disney Expo? Okay.
That's where they show all the new like Disney movies coming out every year. So you're going to get your whatever. You're going to see probably Lion King this year and Avengers Infinity War. So they'll probably bring out the guys from Kingdom Hearts to show it off.
So they teased the fact the next trailer is coming and that they would be revealing a new world. You guys have any predictions for what that world might be based on your either limited knowledge? You think it's going to be Star Wars?
It's no question, man. It's Star Wars. Come on. Disney didn't buy Star Wars. Do not milk that cow.
I think it's going to be Herbie fully loaded. It's going to be a fantastic Beetle experience. So that's my guess.
Lindsay Lohan. There's actually a Skylanders amiibo of Lindsay Lohan. You can scan it right into the game, but you got to pay. You got to buy it at jail first. You have to get it. You have to bail it out.
And then you gotta file a lawsuit for it too because of the likeness.
Yeah, because Grand Theft Auto made a redhead who looks anyway. That's what makes some inappropriate jokes there.
That's too good. Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't want you to start that.
Okay. Let's move on to EA. So the EA presentation took place yesterday. They came out of the gate and said, we're going to talk about 8 experiences. And for an hour's time, it's kind of interesting. The fact that you now having seen Xbox and saying, we're going to show you 42 things over the span of this hour and 40 minutes. And they said, we're going to show you 8. It felt a little bit thin. And then felt thinner as the presentation went. I think they started right off with a DLC pack for a game from last year. What do you guys think about leading off E3? Because, well, granted, let me just preface that EA is not physically at E3; they are across the street. But in essence, they kicked off this whole thing. What's your thought on DLC being the first exposure to E3?
It was very apropos that it came from EA. They're not at E3. They're pre-E3. They're like 2 days ahead, and it's EA. They love money. They love microtransactions. They love DLC. What else would they open with? Story mode for every sports game on the planet?
Well, this is also true.
It's as simple as that. I mean, it really is. They're going to lead where the money is and end where the money is. And the people are playing Battlefield 1, and DLCs are an easy purchase. I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
Was Battlefield 1? I know it was a pretty big success for them, but was it the COD killer? Did it outsell COD? I always thought COD still outsold it, but Call of Duty.
I think compared to Advanced Warfare, I think it sold better. It was at least like touted as a better game. I don't know what the sales numbers were like, so I don't want to. I don't want to definitively say, although I have a 50% chance of getting that right.
They were showing off like.
I'll say it sold it.
It did.
No, I can't confirm that. I'm just guessing.
But when I saw it, I kind of reacted, I think, a little strange to it, where I was like, well, you're going to start off with an old game. So, like, usually I would think when you start off E3 or, presentation, it should be something big and new. And they started off with more of the old, this is an old game. Here's more, I'm like, oh, and you have to pay for it. But, it was a weird way to start off the show. I didn't think it was the best, but I know it's got a huge fan base going for it with Battlefield 1. And I think they're just trying to, because I think they know they have a hit with it. So they're like, hey, we have a hit with Battlefield for a change. because Battlefield 4 I don't think was a big hit for them. So they've been really trying with that franchise and finally have something with it.
I feel like they farmed out a lot of their big game announcements to the other shows. Microsoft got Anthem. Sony's going to get something.
They'll get some flavor of Battlefront, I bet.
Yeah, Nintendo gets FIFA without Alex Hunter.
That's weird. So
The whole
story
thing was
like
weird.
story modes in sports games. Can we quickly just address that strange direction that things are going in? That we need a story based, effectively RPG for your NFL, your FIFA,
NBA.
NBA has it too. Like it's. Why can't we just have a sports game? Like,
I think it makes so. I think you can just have a sports game, and I think that people who have historically purchased sports games will continue to buy sports games because I don't think in any of these cases the story mode is necessary. I think these companies, in the ever-growing need to increase your user base, they realize that I'm going to use the Venn diagram thing again. The Venn diagram between sports games players, the people who buy Maddens and everything every single year, and people who play RPGs or narrative-driven games probably never talk or never overlap, and so they're trying to find a way to make that happen. This is kind of the only logical way to make that happen. And so I think it makes sense. It's not for me. I don't think it's going to be quite enough to get me into sports games. I don't give a crap about sports or sports games at all. But this at least does. I do pay attention to it a little bit more. It's just still not quite enough for me to care yet. I think they've tried the sports management sims and things like that in the past, and those have been around forever. But I don't think even that is necessarily tapping into the RPG type of audience that maybe they're trying to wrestle with and trying to get. They're trying it. I don't know. It's not for me, but I think it makes sense, honestly. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the first sports game that do a story. I'm pretty sure the 2K series has it right now for basketball.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they did with the 2012 edition. I think had that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of games have create a player mode, and you sort of live the player's life. One of the ones was the Madden one seemed to almost have you playing as a college kid, which is interesting because they can't make NCAA games because of lawsuits and stuff. It's interesting. It seems like they're trying to skirt that a little bit and add in a little bit of flavor of the old NCAA football in there.
It's CIAU. You're getting drafted out of Canada. They can make those games.
And Canada doesn't have lawyers, as we all know. So,
fact. I play RPGs and I like Madden. I may grab this. I haven't bought a Madden in about 4 years now, and I used to buy them every year from 1993 on. They have in the past had modes where you created a player and played as him throughout his career. You had to answer questions from your agent and stuff like that. So it was very similar to this. But yeah, I don't know if it's
the story seems a lot more personal. Like it seems like this guy's dealing with family stuff and struggling with being a person who's not succeeding at his sport. Which is it's an interesting take. I don't know. To lead it off with that just felt like they went right into
FIFA. FIFA sold
did.
So well with Alex Hunter, the Alex Hunter storyline, that they said, "Well, let's do it for everything." It worked for that. Let's do it for all of them and see what happens.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
And yeah.
The one the aspect of one of the games, I think it was the NBA Live 18, that actually did intrigue me even more than sort of the story modes. As a guy who doesn't, is exactly that. Is the sort of close quarters combat kind of mechanic-y thing. That intrigues me just because it kind of slows down a very sort of intimate moment in a sports game that you don't necessarily see. And I think that's going to. I would not be surprised if that became standard fare in sports games moving forward. Now, me as, again, a guy who doesn't play sports games, doesn't really like them, maybe that is going to be a turnoff to the people who do like a fast-paced sports game, and that's it. But it's very intriguing to me. It's something I'll probably watch quite a few maybe Let's Plays on kind of thing to look at it. But again, nothing that's going to cause me to purchase the game. So yeah, it didn't work entirely, I guess.
Okay. For the sake of time, I want to go ahead if you still have comments on the sports stuff.
And this can shift into Battlefront 2. I was gonna say, in comparison, I want to wonder if the reason why they're kind of morphing it into what is if they mentioned in Battlefront. I think that was kind of funny in their announcement for Battlefront 2 that they were like, well, we took your advice because you didn't like it, that there was nothing to this first game, but now we're gonna put some meat to it. So now we're giving you a story mode and we're giving you 1 year free of DLC. But like they're like, we're giving you a story mode, and then after that, it seems like this is getting a story mode, and this is getting a story mode. So that's why I thought like that was kind of the thing one thing I noticed, that maybe they're taking a lot of guff for giving a pretty shallow experiences with most of their games, that they're like, oh, let's try to at least put some meat onto it so we can use this as a marketing tool. So that's the one thing I kind of noticed, at least from noticing from Battlefront's perspective, and they kind of leaked into all their other games that they were talking about.
Yeah, so Battlefront itself, there's some aspects to that seem appealing. The free DLC, that's how long that lasts. I mean, they at least said the first 2 seasons. I think they said
the first year. She said. I thought she said the first year, but okay. I'm not 100% positive. I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So any new heroes, any maps, any vehicles, those things are all going to be. They're not going to fracture their customer base, which I think is a good move on their part. It's something that they. By doing map packs and things like that. So the fact they're adopting the Overwatch model, which I think is a smart move. They're reintroducing couch co-op. One thing I didn't understand is like why are we talking about Finn and Captain Phasma being DLC when we're talking about it now? Like, shouldn't they just be ready at launch? And why are you calling them DLC at this point? If not just to be like, we're giving you DLC for free.
That is true. Really, I thought about that, but that's weird.
Is it really the Overwatch approach, or is it more the Splatoon approach, where that was the first year was kind of free?
It could be that's fair. That's totally fair.
So, for an online competitive,
although I would venture to guess that Overwatch was in production long before Splatoon was, but we can save that for another time. The single player is I think the biggest draw to Battlefront 2 for me. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, or if you could care less about Star Wars, or if you.
If I buy it, it'll be for the single player. I have no desire to play the multiplayer.
And I really want to play the single player, but I will dabble into the multiplayer just to give it an experience, because I didn't think it was a bad, at least from trying the beta from Battlefront. I felt there was not much to it. Didn't play bad, just it needed more. And with the fact that they're like talking free DLC for a year, that makes me would want me to keep probably coming back, but I wouldn't see myself playing it past a year. I don't play most first-person shooters online more than a month. So probably, you could probably get me coming back at least a couple times a year to try it out. But after that solo campaign, I'd probably be done with the game.
Yeah, I like the fact they're saying this is the branching story between Jedi and Force Awakens, which is cool. But just the different take on the when you look at things from a certain point of view, you have people who believe that the Empire is good, that the Empire has good intentions, and what does that person do when their life is everything they believed in, everything, the icon that they had of a Death Star blowing up? What does that do to somebody? I'm interested to see what direction they take with that.
They go out there and they get revenge on that rebel scum who has no place destroying the order that they're trying to bring to the galaxy.
Gonna create a new order? Is that?
Listen, I'm the religious zealots out there. attacking my death. Like, I'm just trying to bring peace and justice and order out here to the galaxy, and these guys are getting up in my face, and they're unhappy, and we want anarchy. Crush that rebellion.
I liked the fact that they brought out the primary actress as the one who kind of presented this.
I liked how excited she was to be there. That was a big deal for her.
After she drops the acting bit, after she when she showed her real side basically and her real personality.
Yeah,
so that was really
came
nice.
out at first. She came out at first, and she was, being all like stern and I'm angry and I'm a bad guy. And then turned it around. Yeah, she's like, I watched that trailer with my mom in the back. Like, we watched it 20 times. Yeah, she was excited to be there. It was the one like kind of in a presentation full of executive management. It was nice to have somebody who understands like the joy that you can get from that type of thing. I liked it once she relaxed. But at first it was just like, why are you scowling at me? Yeah. But no, I'm excited for Battlefront, but more for the single player, I think.
One thing I want to mention real quick before I move on to is I wonder. No, I imagine it's got the Star Wars name. It's still going to sell well, but Titanfall 2 kind of had this thing where people said at first this was a very dry bones game for Titanfall, and there's not much to it, and this fan base dropped off pretty quick. In result, I think that affected Titanfall 2 sales, where I don't think it undersold, I think, what they were expecting it to sell too, because the first game, I think, had this stink attached to it that carried over the second game, when most people I've seen for reviews saying this is a really, really good game. It just didn't sell what they expected. So I wonder if the first Battlefront will have any effect, maybe affecting the sales. No, like I said, I still imagine it'll sell well because it has the Star Wars name attached to it. And Star Wars is a much bigger name than Titanfall. But I still wonder if people are just a little bent out of shape from the first game, too, to maybe not want to purchase this one.
Let's move on to the last thing I want to talk about for EA is the follow-up to the game by the developers of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and that is A Way Out, which is a prison break game. And it looks to me it looks really compelling. I think, but I don't want to talk about it all entirely. Let's have you guys talk about it. Caleb, what's your thought on? Did you play Brothers? Have you?
I did. Oh yeah, I played Brothers. Loved Brothers. Fantastic game. And I have this. A Way Out is, I think, going to be the game that may pull me into some co-op play. There's a lot of things about this. So first of all, the creative person behind this, Josef Fares, I think is his name. He has such contagious passion. Like, he came out there and you could tell that he was just in love with this idea, in love with this game. And that made it very easy for me to kind of fall in love with it as well. He comes from a movie background. He was a director in some award-winning movies and things. And so he has that sort of eye, which makes me trust, I think, the plan for the game. If it were in someone's hands who wasn't used to controlling cameras and wasn't used to controlling the narrative, the viewpoint of the narrative, I would have really been skeptical about this whole co-op split screen type of thing, especially considering that in some cases the screen is smaller on one person's view than it is on the other person's view. So it's sort of shifting the focus and it's pushing you to care about what it is that you need to care about, while also giving this incredible amount of freedom. And I trust him. I trust his team that they're going to deliver on this very, very well. So I'm super excited about that. The only sort of thing that I've heard from some people that they didn't like about this game is that it feels like the development studio behind it is falling into one-trick pony territory. Brothers they had a very unique control capability. You controlled two different characters simultaneously using both dual stick controls. And this game is, again, two people, although it's separate people this time, but two people having to work together very closely in an environment. And I sort of didn't, I didn't necessarily, I I didn't feel the complaints in the same way that other people maybe were complaining about, simply because I love it when a development studio finds something very unique and they can refine that game after game after game, even if it is somewhat of a novelty. I don't think it is in either of these two cases, but I can see how some people may perceive it that way. I like when a game studio can refine a mechanic and make that mechanic their own and own that mechanic, because then they're sort of forcing themselves into these restrictions, which I think will allow them to, it will force them in turn to be more creative about how they use that restriction. And so seeing what comes more is going to be really incredible. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be really cool, and I'm hoping that I can jump into some co-op. The last thing I'll say on it before passing it over is that there was an enormous amount of clapping when Ferris said that it was couch co-op, not only but couch co-op, which was just kind of incredible to me, because it really goes to show how far removed gamers are from what used to be the only way to do co-op was couch co-op. And so the fact that there was this enormous applause when he mentioned that you'll have the best experience through couch co-op was just kind of really cool and really reassuring, and it showed people that maybe gamers aren't as detached socially as I think a lot of people feel that they are sometimes. So it was a good warm moment. Definitely the highlight for me, probably really of the entire conference, to be honest, is this A Way Out. So I'm really looking forward to it.
P1, how about you? Thoughts on A Way Out? I know that you adored Brothers.
Yeah. I like Josef Fares. He's fantastic. I'm glad Caleb mentioned that he was a director, because that you can tell just in what he does that he shoots it like a movie. He's not making a video game. He's making an interactive movie. And I also agree that, you know what, if you find something you're good at, keep doing it. Be good at it. You know what I mean? Nobody ever told Michael Jordan to stop shooting threes. Maybe you should try baseball. Oh, wait. So, like, yeah, I'm excited. This was, I mean, the Anthem teaser was good for me. That wet my whistle. But I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting into with that. This was also my highlight. It looks good. Coach Cup is great. This will definitely be a game that I play with my brother. And he cast his brother to play the role of the guy with the sideburns. So that's great. I'm really excited for it.
His brother is Sean Penn. That's incredible.
Yeah, the motion capture, not the. But yeah, I'm excited, and he had great stage presence. Like, he came out there and he was pumped. You know, he's like, "You'll be able to do everything," and then he's like, "Okay, well, no, I got to back up. Not everything. You know, you'll be able to do a lot of stuff." And people really reacted to that. He was great, because the other EA presenters, I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about what we didn't like about EA and try and narrow it down to one thing, but those other presenters were
pretty boring.
Yeah, that was some dry stuff, like popcorn farts. Anyway, looking forward to A Way Out.
Yeah, Ryan, how about you? Thoughts on A Way Out?
Looked good. I'll just keep it short. I think it looked like Brothers with some meat to it, so it looked like there's a little bit more to it. So I'm excited to play it. I don't know if it'll be a day one purchase, but if it's like, you know, that same price range that Brothers was, I'd probably pick it up right away then.
I mean, Ryan's right. There is nothing better than meaty brothers.
Ew.
I think for me the thing I thought was cool was you're not both in a cutscene simultaneously. You've got the asynchronous kind of aspect to it, where you've got a character who's seeing this from a different angle, and then you have the cutscene that's happening simultaneously, which is kind of cool. Nice approach there. Yeah, so let's do the same thing for EA. Unless am I missing? I don't think there was anything else worthy of mention. Maybe
the only thing I could think of really quickly is for the Need for Speed Payback. It reminded me a lot of Burnout. That's the one thing I wanted to mention real quick. I've never played a Need for Speed game.
Fast and Furious.
Played a Need for Speed game before, but this one they showed off looked a lot like Burnout to me, and where I would actually consider probably picking it up at a sale price, maybe, or something like that. Just if it really incorporated those Burnout, you know, features, you know, like taking out people by smashing into them, I would want to play it. So
the mission, the way that was, at least that gameplay demo, the way that they did that, and showed a mission being accomplished, but it never stopped. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, was interesting. I think that could play out well. The way that they revealed that was lousy. Mm-hmm. I feel bad for the guy that they picked. and the fact that the
Just tele-
teleprompter went out,
Yeah.
and I later learned that, so I do need to at least check that. But he just, the way that he handled that, I think it was unfortunate. He clearly wasn't prepared enough. And throwing around things like my homie and stuff in like supposed to be.
I'm trying to play it. I'm trying to play that.
I'm not familiar with him. I don't know if that's his speaking persona normally. So maybe EA knew that's who he was, and they picked him for some reason. So that's my assumption. But that's probably not correct assumption.
But you're not trying to figure out what EA was doing.
Listen, homie. Okay.
It was just weird. You go from Men in Blazers to this guy, and at that point, I think I had some notes like, "What is going on here?" Yeah, I have "What is going on here?" And like, why this guy? Clearly, he didn't practice enough.
They were trying to shake things up.
trying to.
It clearly bothered me way more than it should have.
Yeah, it was just it was out of place. I get what they were. I think I get what they were trying to go for. It was weird that they had these computers set up, and he was standing in the middle of it for a demo that wasn't going to happen for another 25 minutes. So maybe those are the things for me that I thought EA could kind of miss on. I'm sure there's more, so let's hear from you guys. P1, what was your something that you didn't like about EA?
This was boring. I didn't like that it was boring. It's E3. It's, to quote Caleb, it's the World Series. It's the Super Bowl of video games, and you're the opening act, and you're boring. Oh my God. And then when the guy from EA came on the Microsoft show today, I was like, oh no. And he comes out and he's full of energy and pep. And I was like, where was this for your own show, pal? You know, I'm trying to get excited here and you're just coming out dull.
Worldwide, we created seeds. Like
that's
this
my
guy.
one gripe. Yeah, that's my gripe. Boring.
Caleb, how about you? What did EA swing and miss on?
Yeah, I really just the limited number of games is all. I just wish there were more of them. That's all. Simple as that.
Yeah. Ryan, how about you?
Too much time on the sports games. I don't think people who play Madden tune in for this, or basketball. They love their games. They're gonna buy it regardless. I don't. The people who I know buy Madden and NBA 2K. They don't tune in to these presentations to see this games, and I think there's too much time, dedicated to it. And I mean, I know they showed a little bit where I thought maybe Xbox was going to do it, where they're showing like, oh, this is the detail on the pads, the shin pads, for the football player that could only be on the Xbox One. Don't care, but I think they hit on a couple of key points with like the story mode for Battlefront and what's it called? Trying to think of the brothers game. Oh, Way Out. I think that was a big hit for them too. So,
okay, excellent. One last comment I'll make on them, and then we'll move to our sort of wrap up here. They brought up EA Originals, which is kind of, it seems like it's their indie studio that has funding, and then they showed us one game, and part of me is like, why do you why treat them as indies if you're going to fund them? Like they're not indies if you're doing it.
You're EA. You are not an indie publisher,
right? Like
Stop
if you wanted to say
us.
that you were, you have like a Greenlight program or something where you're trying to like find the next best developer, like that's a different story. But it was kind of strange. I'm glad they're funding A Way Out. I think that's a good thing for that. Good. Okay, let's move to the end. At the end of each of these days, I want to kind of hit a lightning round kind of thing. I just want to get one. I have a couple of things that we want to touch on, and we'll get one from each of you. So let's start with we'll start with the surprise. Let's go one thing about the EA and the stuff from Saturday into Sunday that surprised you. Let's start with Caleb. One thing that surprised you.
I was not. I was surprised by the backwards compatibility announcement. Honestly, I mean, it's something that it's lightning round. I was surprised by that.
Excellent, Ryan. One surprise.
The surprise for me was Life is Strange prequel, so I wasn't expecting that coming. So I was very happy about that one. I'll say that.
And P1.
42,
one surprise.
42 games.
For me, I'm going to say Crimson Skies. That was yeah, that was a surprise. So yeah, on the backwards compatibility front, and then let's go. We'll go in the same order. We'll do one thing that you learned today. Caleb.
Oh, I was first. Okay. I will say I learned that the video game world is much more focused on multiplayer online stuff than I fully understood, I think, sadly. And I may become an old man soon. That's it. Sad.
Ryan, one thing you learned today.
That the Xbox One X is not a new console. It's just an upgrade.
And P1, one thing you learned today.
Microsoft has stepped up the game and raised the bar.
Excellent. For me, the one thing that I learned was that BioWare is capable of bouncing back. I don't know that this team had any association to Andromeda, but they it seems like they have whatever happened, and I haven't read the articles that are out there now, but whatever happened, they are capable of moving past it. They are capable of persevering and pushing forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with Anthem. And let's do one prediction for tomorrow. So tomorrow's a big one, right? We have a lot of presentations. We are going to be jam-packed with stuff to talk about tomorrow, but give me one prediction. And if it's one that you've already mentioned, that's fine. If you want to double down on that one as being your one prediction, let's do that, including Bethesda, which starts in 15 minutes.
Oh boy, I'm going first. Shenmue 1 and 2 HD on Sony only for the first year.
Yay!
For the first year.
Yay!
Launch exclusive.
Don't care.
That's happening. And I want to say a price cut for the PS4 Pro.
Okay.
Ryan, so one thing, damn it.
Ryan, one prediction for tomorrow.
I'm thinking there's going to be a PlayStation price cut. That was going to be my prediction. But since that was already mentioned, I want to say maybe a PlayStation 4 VR bundle. That'll be with a slight price cut to like combo that basically.
Okay.
I will say this knowing that it will never happen, but I just want to put it out there because I think it's important that it gets put out there. A Fallout announcement of some sort. Obviously, they've already said they're not working on a game, but they said they're not working on a game. Perhaps the studio that did New Vegas might be toying with something. So I would just love to hear that. Again, not going to happen, but putting it out there in the ether. Someone please absorb it.
Okay. My prediction is I'm going to go Ubisoft, and I'm going to say Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Is Ubisoft tomorrow as well?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
it's a pack.
PC Gaming Day too.
Yeah. So let me go through my little spiel at the end. I have some housekeeping and stuff for those who are still watching. Thank you for joining us for our first night, and thank you for continuing to comment in the chat. Considering the amount of stuff we have to go through, it's hard to incorporate those, but I think P1 will take all of your jokes for you if you want to share them with him.
I had some of them first.
Well, as long as you had some of them first, good. Good for you.
But I do want to thank the panel. for your contributions this evening. So as a reminder, I know some of you have it in your lower third, but let's have each of you just tell us where we can best find you. P1.
You can best find me at the Cartridge Club website, www.cartridgeclub.org, where I am heavily frequenting the E3 forum section. It's under gaming conventions. You'll get daily updates on all of the conferences as they happen, as written by Mr. Dean Lasagna. That was way longer than you wanted, but I wanted to plug it.
Hey, that works. Caleb, how about you? Where can people best find you?
Best find me on Twitter and YouTube. Caleb J. Ross is my handle on those, and really Caleb J. Ross is my handle anywhere. So Cartridge Club forums, whatever. If you want to know if I'm on a place that you frequent, search Caleb J. Ross, and that's probably me.
And found him on Tinder.
Lots of swiping.
And then Ryan, how can we find you on Tinder?
You find me on Twitter by looking up ItsRocketSauce on Twitter. You'll find me. You can also find me on Twitter at ItsRocketSauce. I also want to, say thank you for everyone for tuning in to this, because this is the first time we've ever tried something like this, and it's kind of always something I wanted to do, basically, because I always tune into these press conferences after to see live reaction, see the general reaction, and see what other people are thinking about these games that were just announced. It's a very exciting time of year, and I'm glad there's a great community like the Cartridge Club to join in on this. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and the panel for agreeing to being part of the show.
Yeah, definitely. And as always, you can follow me or subscribe on whatever social circle you prefer to follow. You can find me at Musty Hobbit. But a few notes here. The entire stream here is going to be available on my channel. I will cross post this to the Cartridge Club website like I normally would. So if you missed anything, or if you want to go back to this, feel free to check that out. And again, I will echo P1's comments that if you would like to, I would encourage you to check out the thread on the forums that we have going for E3, and leave any predictions you have for the remainder of the week. Plans for tomorrow: we will be back here shortly after the Sony press conference. I would hope hopefully we can start up relatively immediately after, but we're hoping that sometime around 9 Central. I don't know. They haven't announced what they were looking at for timing. So we have a lot on our plate for tomorrow, covering Sony, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Devolver Digital, and that PC gaming showcase. And in addition to anything else that gets revealed, Square. I know you've got stuff out there too. So anyone who didn't go with a formal press conference, or stuff that gets revealed from show floor and things like that, maybe we find a way to fit that in there. But I think we have a big day ahead of us. I am really looking forward to it. But yeah, let's go ahead and sign off for now. Thank you again, everyone, for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Enjoy the Bethesda show if you're staying up for that. If not, we will see you. We will see you tomorrow. So,
Bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye.